The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Crime News Talk. Today is November 24th, 2025. We are live to tape on episode number 894. And today, Best Buds or Duds. Signing on from off the grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy Basil, and you are not crazy.
And my name is Gonz, at Face Like the Sun, director of the Age of Deceit films, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, live to tape from the metaverse to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. It is Monday. I'm trying to get to the Monday jingle, which is here.
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
Yup.
It is Monday, Gonz, and I'm just figuring it out just now. Somebody said your mic was super hot. They say it's better now on the live stream. But we have that thing where just on the live stream, for those who listen to the podcast, apparently it's not a problem. But the intro music gets like super quiet, super weird during my part of the intro. And I think I'm realizing it's because you're probably sending it to StreamYard on the same channel as your voice. Is that true?
Yeah, it's the same. Yes,
That's
it's the
what
same
it is.
thing.
Okay, so it's tuning you down while I talk. Maybe we'll try putting the intro music just straight into StreamYard next time. We'll give it a try, folks. We'll see what it happens. It doesn't happen. There's no control over some of these things. At least that's what we say to make ourselves feel better once in a while.
Yeah, the issue with that, which is fine if you want to do it that way, it'll be better for the live stream, but it'll be kind of a pain in the butt for my post production because I would have to manually add in the music later.
We don't need to have a full production meeting about it. And
I know it's all
just the
buttons.
highest fidelity for the podcast player is the thing to do because they are the OGs, the beloved podcast listeners. We love you too, video listeners. You guys are great, but if we have to make a choice, I don't know. We're old school like that. Just a shout out, everybody watching the video. You can see the comment that is up on the screen, but for those who are just listening, Cage Rattler Coffee is having a special now through November 30th. Okay, so get on over to cagerattlercoffee.com and save 10% on any one-time purchase with code THANKS.
Sorry. Yeah, I got stuff going on over here. Problems.
No
problem.
It's okay. Go to cagerattlercoffee.com, folks. Go check it out. And we did get the notification. There are also subscriptions.
Cage Rattler Coffee, where value for value never tasted so good.
That's right. Very cool. Very good. This is not our company. This is a project by producers of the show. The coffee is roasted by producers of the show. Not only does it support the show, portion of every bag goes to support the show, but also supports Canary Cry family. So it's a very good parallel economy starter kit for anybody out there who's just trying to figure out how to keep the world just the smallest bit better whenever they can. And coffee always helps that. So go to cagerattlercoffee.com. Again, the code THANKS, THANKS, will get you 10% off of any one-time purchase. And they also just started the Coffee of the Club subscription. So you could go do all of that. Okay, it's good stuff. Let's see here. While we're at it, I just want to mention, because just by virtue of Gonz and I losing our minds collectively, we missed out on the past couple shows on a couple of knighthoods. And this is very important. And I want to first apologize to those knights who will be gaining their knighthood because it just, I don't know what happened. We were rushed. We started late. It just never happened. So we're going to be knighting both Trevor G and Christian N, who both now have supported the show, produced the show with their own time, talent, and treasure in the amount of $1,000 or more. This can happen all at once or over many years, whatever. that makes sense for you. And when somebody does produce the show in that amount, they are given a seat at the very special round table of knights and dames. And so we'll be knighting Trevor G and Christian N. They both have sent in their knight names, and that's very exciting. So everybody get your swords ready, polish up your armor, because it's an exciting day in the Canarium. Okay, any other announcements before we jump in, Gons? What's going on in your life, buddy?
Oh, you want to know about my life? What is this, a Gon's therapy session? Let's get on with the show. Let's talk about some Trump and mom. We got social communists taking over New York and stuff. So we got to get to it.
Well, it sounds like maybe some therapy would do you good, buddy. But let's do that. Let's start out with a couple of best buddies, the world's new and exciting best buddies that is throwing everybody for a loop. And it happened in the Oval Office.
It is Trump.
We will launch a new age.
He did announce a new age. This is new, Basil. Maybe not. Maybe not new.
Do not have a Zoran Mamdani jingle, or do we? Did someone make? I feel like maybe somebody sent one in.
Maybe Jonathan F made a clipped thing with him or something.
I'll do a little searchy poo, see if something came. But yes, this is just starting out with this because this is fun, okay? And it's also mind bending. And this is the kind of thing we got to look out for. Now we're gonna start with this video that was put out by the AP. This is actually on the AP website. This was a video. Apparently, news websites like the AP are just getting into like short form video content just straight on their website.
Well, they're reading the analytics. They're like, we must do the shorts like TikTok and YouTube shorts.
They're trying to melt everybody's brains just like TikTok and everything. So here's 1 minute of the meeting of Mamdani and Trump in the Oval Office.
Is it muted?
No, it's playing on my side.
It's not playing for me, which means it's not being captured properly.
Oh no.
Let's try this again. Let me just double check. All right, here we go. Let's should be.
I want to ask the mayor-elect about a House resolution just passed overwhelmingly to condemn socialism, including with 86 Democrats, all of House Dem leadership, and the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, despite his endorsement of you. What's your reaction to that?
I have to be honest with you. I focused very little on resolutions. Frankly, I've been focusing.
Socialism.
I understand. I think the focus is on the work at hand. I can tell you I am someone who is a democratic socialist. I've been very open about that. And I know there might be differences about ideology, but the place of agreement is the work that needs to be done to make New York City affordable. That's what I look forward to.
And I want to clarify your answer to Stephen Nelson. He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist. And your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about.
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
Okay.
So
all right.
The big part of it, it's Mamdani being asked by a reporter there. Seems a reporter that Trump likes having there, not only because she's a good-looking blonde with a short skirt on, but she is really doing the job of kind of calling out the strange essence of Mamdani and Trump meeting together, and in this case, taking questions together, and in this case, even stranger, seem to be very friendly. Now, this is something that, let me give you a broader scope of kind of this exact, another place that this exact, mind-bending piece of Trump has been hitting sort of liberal news feeds is, what's that? It's Bill Maher. Have you remember the clips of Bill Maher? Have you seen any of the, or Maher, whatever they call him?
Yeah, Bill Maher,
Yeah.
Maher, Maher, yeah.
Bill Maher.
Yeah, I
right.
mean, he's been, he's popular during the Obama time. I mean, even before that, but then.
Oh yeah, no, he's huge. I mean,
not so much recently.
The clips recently. Well, here's the thing. So one of the big things with Bill Maher recently, he has in the sort of delight. If you're a nonpartisan type of person, there's something delightful happening to Bill Maher, and that is, it all started when he went to go have dinner with Trump. Now, this happened within the last year, maybe the last 6 months. I kind of don't, I remember it happening in the response, but when he went back on a show after having dinner with Trump, he did something that's quite radical for a pundit on the left, and he kind of told the truth about Trump. And the truth that he told was Trump's a very nice guy. Trump was very interested in what I had to say about different topics. He, when we're not in the room together and we're just interacting through the media, we call each other insane and we put each other down and we insult each other. But when I got in the room with him, he's very kind, very interested. He let me talk. He wanted to really, and he kind of went through this thing. And
he was a human being.
He really took the slings and arrows of the left for, again, not even being a Trump supporter, not saying he's right about anything, but just saying he's like not a demon, as this. And he's continued to Bill Maher's credit on various interviews that he had. He just had one with, what's that guy? The kind of like squeaky, nerdy, older comedian.
There's a few.
Patton Oswalt. Patton Oswalt. He just had another conversation with Patton Oswalt. He had another interview with, I think, a musician guy, and it's a recurring topic on Bill Maher's show, which I think is both a little revealing, albeit we need to, remember people in this sort of level of media are always playing some sort of game. Maybe he's seeing the shifting of the sands and he's trying to move with that, but he's getting in these little conflicts with other, verdant, I guess verdant is a weird word to use for it, but verdant leftists,
ardent.
Ardent is the better word, about how Trump's not that crazy and he's nice and he takes a lot of counsel and he does these sorts of things.
He's a former Democrat, and that matters. Especially
that's one of Bill Maher's big points, and he's trying his best to kind of insert some of these aspects of reality into generally the older liberal circles. Young people mostly are not paying attention to Bill Maher. But it's mostly like liberal boomers, which, hey, look, if there's any field that is ripe for harvest of like a little bit of sanity, it's liberal boomers. They are obviously the ones who are the furthest off the deep end, as is evident by the No Kings protests. So another example of this, while young leftists might not be interested in Bill Maher and what he has to say about Trump, they are interested in Zoran Mamdani, who the polls show that most of the support, something like 80% support of Mamdani, came from young people outside of New York, not even necessarily New Yorkers supporting him. But so support for him really is of the younger generation in the whole country. That's kind of what Trump is, targeting by meeting with Mamdani. Now, AP, they come out and they put, which is one of the funniest moments and a brilliant move by Trump, where the reporter asked Mamdani, hey, didn't you say Trump is a fascist? Do you still think he's a fascist? Kind of hearkening back to this Bill Maher thing of like, hey, now that you've met him, do you have anything else to say about him? And Mamdani begins, which he's a brilliant politician, theater kid, like he knows what to say every time. He starts in on this long explanation, this political explanation, now that he's in the room, blah, blah, blah. Do you still think he's a fascist? And Trump interrupts him immediately and just says, yeah, you can say yes. It's okay. It's easier than explaining it. Just say yes. And which is, brilliant Trumpism sort of politics in the room. Mm-hmm. But the most surprising part of it was that Mamdani acquiesced and he said, okay, yes. He did what Trump told him to do, which was to, just say yes. And when you watch the video version of this, for those who are just listening, Trump sitting at a desk, Mamdani is standing next to him. And as Trump is saying, just say yes, don't explain it, just say yes, he's reaching over and he's patting Mamdani kind of on the back and the arm. Again, another very Trumpian move, making this physical contact. It's all part of his, his magicianry there. Now, so the AP puts this out, big mainstream outlet, of course. Look at this moment where Trump, is there a few more seconds in this video here? I can't
Which one?
tell.
The first one?
Oh, the one you just played. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
there was like 2 seconds left. I can play it.
Yeah. Why don't we back it up a few seconds? Let's get that again. Let's watch the moment and then just play it all the way.
Clarify your answer to Stephen Nelson. He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist. And your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about.
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
And I wanted to ask you also.
Okay.
Fade to black.
So that's the big one. AP is putting it out there. 1 minute clip. Booyah. Well, luckily, now you always have to be suspicious. The AP putting out one little clip just like that. They want that part to be out there, for whatever reason. I think there's a way that you can watch that is actually not necessarily friendly to Trump. Who knows what they're doing? But they did miss out on a real surprising broader picture of what was actually said and done in this meeting. Here's a little edit. You'll hear there are some edit points. They're mostly editing out the reporters' questions for time. And you can get a little. Did you watch this beforehand, Gons, or is this your first time?
I did not.
Okay,
I'm watching it for the first
time. All
time.
right, let's go ahead and watch it all the way through.
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about.
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind. I'll let you answer that. You consider yourself the leader of the Democrats. I think it's more appropriate for him.
I consider myself the next mayor of New York City.
A really good, very productive meeting. We have one thing in common. We want this city of ours that we love to do very well. And I wanted to congratulate the mayor. I think you're going to have hopefully a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am. We're going to be helping him to make everybody's dream come true. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually, and some very liberal people. He won't surprise them because they already like him.
Why did you fly here? Aren't trains greener?
I'll use every form of transit, and I want to make sure that they're all affordable in New York City.
I know, but if he flew, that's a lot quicker too. I mean, he's working very hard. For him to be, that's a very long drive. I'll stick up with you. I expect to be helping him, not hurting him. A big help.
Do you think you're standing next to a jihadist right now in the Oval Office?
No, I don't. And I've been called much worse than a despot, so it's not that insulting. Maybe I think he'll change his mind after we get to working together. He said a lot of my voters actually voted for him, and I'm okay with that. Some of his ideas really are the same ideas that I have. But a big thing on cost, the new word is affordability. Another word is just groceries. It's sort of an old-fashioned word, but it's very accurate. We discuss crime more than ICE per se. We discuss crime, and he doesn't want to see crime. I have very little doubt that we're not going to get along on that issue.
Would you feel comfortable living in New York City under a Mamdani administration?
Yeah, I would. I really would, especially after the meeting. Absolutely.
I keep my horizons firmly on New York City, and I appreciate the meeting with the president, which focused again on the 5 boroughs and whether New Yorkers could afford to live there.
By the way, I tell you, the press has eaten this thing up. I've had a lot of meetings with the heads of major countries. Nobody cared.
I think J.D. Vance is jealous.
One little clip.
Thank
there.
you for the little commentary at the end. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, so there was a lot more of a love fest going on, a true love fest, or
really heavy.
At least
really, I thought it was interesting. Trump said, groceries. It's an old-fashioned word.
Old-fashioned thing. Yeah.
He hasn't bought groceries since the 70s.
Yeah, Trump hasn't, but the rest of us, the rest of normal people,
so
got to go.
Trump is pulling some very clever move here. Nobody can deny that. And I'm not going to claim to know exactly what it is, but there's a couple of things here that I can sense immediately, which is the left being extremely uncomfortable with this sort of genius move by Trump to basically full-throated in many ways endorse Mamdani, but not even like the boring political endorsement or whatever. Personally endorsing Mamdani, that Mamdani and him have the same ideas. I would love to live under a Mamdani administration. This is going to be great. We want the same thing, et cetera, et cetera. And this is happening at the same time as something that I pointed out before the Mamdani election, which is specifically, one example is that he's keeping the police commissioner, Jessica Tisch. And Jessica Tisch, total technocrat, dystopian surveillance state, in the left's words, Zionist. She's a descendant from a billionaire family, risen to her billionaire self, and controlling the sort of dystopian aspects of the New York surveillance state. There was a lot of hullabaloo about that. Apparently a lot of Mamdani voters didn't know about that until it was too late. But you can see Mamdani, who actually requested this meeting, it could be a pretty brilliant opportunity, because the election coming up to his mayoral election, it was very much Trump versus Mamdani. He's just the mayor of New York, but he's going up against the president of the United States, and he's fighting fascism and blah, 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 blah. And Trump's ability to put everything aside at the moment's notice for his own purposes of whatever, and being nice to somebody and agreeing to somebody, is really either putting Mamdani in a very sticky situation, or perhaps revealing what those like us who have been analyzing and paying attention and keeping our eyes open and not getting caught up in partisan politics have known all along, is that it doesn't matter what side of the continuum you are, what side of the aisle, you actually all do want the same stuff. That same stuff just doesn't happen to be what you tell people. We have gone into Trump and the North American Union and the what do they call it? The Amero and Hillary Clinton's plan for this borderless economic zone of Mexico, US, Canada, Greenland, and Trump rewords it and works towards it in his own special way. And now you have this pretty crazy display here of Trump just really laying on the charm, and if not putting Mamdani in a weird place, because obviously, if you are Mamdani, you're a politician, you're a theater kid, this is actually, maybe great for you in one way or another, if the president really is kind of giving you support you need to make your weird New York plan come true or whatever. Or we're watching sort of the collar getting put around Mamdani's neck, and we'll be sort of short walked to whatever Trump wants for New York. I don't know. It's very interesting, but I thought it was even more interesting the little bits and pieces that the AP made available, and other mainstream outlets. They have headlines talking about that exact same moment, the "don't worry, just say yes" moment, while kind of forgetting or not wanting to report on just how cheekily they got along.
I'm wondering if, obviously there's strategy involved on all sides here, and clearly, Trump, we've characterized Trump on this show as one of the, or I'm sorry, we have highlighted the mistress witch,
Queen witch,
Abramovich, called President Trump the greatest chaos magician, and to that effect, it's been pretty clear that he is a chaos magician. He brings about the chaos. He breaks the status quo. He seems taboo and all this kind of stuff, but it gets things done, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So in that,
no matter what happens, it seemed the most chaotic attacks on him always end up being in his favor. And in this case, the election of Mamdani, which was seen and was sort of reported as a referendum on Trump. That was what they said every time. Mamdani
Right.
getting elected is a referendum on Trump. This means people are done with Trump. And then
Right.
he finds a way like this to do the most unexpected thing, and it ends up working out in his favor every time.
I think part of it is the strategy for the midterms, obviously, and it might be to really put some fuel on the fire that Mamdani has already created within the Democrat Party, because he's polarizing like Trump is polarizing in a sense, right? If you put it in the context of the Democrats, I think Bernie Sanders came out and said that, like, hey, this doesn't reflect what Democrats and the progressives want in, a leader and stuff like that. So it's already causing a little bit of division, and Mamdani might energize like a more progressive or like a youth turnout type thing, but it might alienate the moderate Democrat voter.
The Chuck Schumer side, I think, is maybe what you meant. That like the Chuck Schumer establishment Democrat side. That was part of what Trump mentioned in this meeting with Mamdani, calling Mamdani the new leader of the Democrat Party, placing the communist as the leader of the Democrat Party instead of Chuck Schumer, the establishment swamp creature, or Nancy Pelosi, the side of the Democrats that is what made people turn away from the Democrats in the first place, this kind of skeezy, scheming, two-faced establishment. But nobody hates Trump, referring to Mamdani as the leader of the Democrats, as much as the Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, abundance Democrats,
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. But also, Trump doing this at the expense of perhaps some of his base really shows, I guess another example of how, a lot of these politicians, they're politicians. They are they are the puppet
to
the puppet master, So we got to keep that in mind, and I think that people get too carried away about the people. People like reality TV. Trump's the ultimate reality TV guy, so it makes sense to turn a lot of politics into theater. Not that it wasn't before, but more so now, just obviously.
Yeah. Well, and the point of this, you want to broaden this out to what we're seeing across the country.
Yes.
What are they calling Mamdani? Not just a communist, but they're also calling him a jihadist, and all that sort of Muslim stuff that's been cranked up to 11 lately. I mean, suddenly it feels like we're in 2002 again. And, the Islam is taking over. And, to a degree, we see certainly some concerning developments, especially in the UK. It's a bit up in the air right now about much of the alarmism going on in the US, not to get into that too much, but you see this move, whatever move this is by Trump and or Mamdani, to really throw a fly in the ointment of what Mamdani is supposed to represent, which is anti-Trump, anti-capitalist, blah, blah, blah. And, obviously display he's on a short leash. What does that mean for what we're seeing when it comes to the Islamic relations, not just in the world, but especially in the United States, in New York? They've been cranking up this alarmism to 11 in the past couple weeks, maybe month or so. People are really turning a lot of attention to the Islam issue, and I think there's some very specific cues to be taking about what to be alarmed about, what not to be alarmed about, what might be theater or ritual. That inevitably, where we should come to is to check ourselves on what alarmism we're getting sucked into on a pretty regular basis.
To that effect, this morning, the White House published a fact sheet from whitehouse.gov here that I'm showing. President Donald J. Trump begins process to designate certain Muslim Brotherhood chapters as foreign terrorist organizations and specially designated global terrorists. So we're moving in that direction. And I think it's always the lesser of two evils conversation, the false duality when it comes to politics, right? So in that regard, it would make sense to be like, hey, Would you rather have an American democratic socialist, or do you want a total? Because that was the conservative concern, right? It's like, oh, we get Mamdani in there, and the New York's going to turn Islam, and then the Islamic takeover of America is at haste, and there we go. It's all going to go. America's going to fall or whatever. And this puts a little bit of a wedge in that to say, well, we have the Muslim Brotherhood that is a problem in the Middle East, even though America has been, tapped in. The American intelligence has been tapped into them in all sorts of ways.
Yeah.
And whatnot.
The Muslim Brotherhood is a British intelligence invention.
Yeah, I know. It's
Muslim
like a Western
Brotherhood
creation. I get that.
is
I know we
Five
get
Eyes.
that in the show. But in terms of like the public, the mass public, especially Americans, they're going to have to, especially conservatives, they might have to be like, okay, I'd rather have the democratic socialists that Trump likes personally, because they both have the same goal to make things affordable in New York, than, like a real Islamic type of situation. And to educate the public on that distinction, Trump is out here trying to turn the Muslim Brotherhood, or certain parts of it, certain chapters of it, as a foreign terrorist organization, an FTO. So,
and
there's a lot of staging going on here for sure.
The most recent sort of use of the Muslim Brotherhood from the West was, at least the biggest one, was the Arab Spring. This was when was this? 2014-ish, somewhere in the 2000 that range. Was when Egypt had their, again, it was organized all on Twitter. Twitter played this essential role. Again, CIA, intelligence. Yeah. Twitter and the access to Twitter was where the revolution was stoked. Much like how we see the Mexico sort of young people Gen Z revolution, the Nepalese Gen Z revolution. These are all happening on Discord. In the same way, it happened on Twitter back in I think it was around 2014.
Arab Springs was December 2010.
2010. Okay, even earlier.
When it started.
Yeah, 2010. That makes sense. Yeah, 2010. Yes, the Arab Spring, where the Egyptian people organized on Twitter at the time, took down the government of Egypt, and who got put into the government? The Muslim Brotherhood. They were there. There was an obvious, CIA, Five Eyes intelligence stoking on Twitter that propagated this revolution. And then after the revolution, the MI5, MI6, Five Eyes, conglomeration that is the Muslim Brotherhood stepped in and took control. And in this case, it's Egypt who controls the Suez Canal. So we know how that worked, why it worked, how it happened, and what the purpose of it was. And now we have these designations, these executive designations are interesting because it doesn't make anything, no change in facts happens in this. Like there's no revelation of something. It's simply by the stroke of a pen redesignating these groups so certain action can take place. And in this, just as a heads up, in this designation that you pulled up, the fact sheet, they're talking about the Muslim Brotherhood leaders in Lebanon, which is part of the sort of greater Israel project, the attacks on Lebanon and the Lebanese but either Muslim Brotherhood or Hamas. Let's see here. Where else? Where are you? The Lebanese, Jordanian, and Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood. So the Muslim Brotherhood that was put in basically by the CIA or MI5, whoever you want to say, is now being designated. I guess a single leader. Let's see. A senior Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood leader encouraged violent attacks against U.S. partnerships and equities in the Middle East on the same day that Hamas perpetrated the October 7th attack. Yeah. So, we're gearing up. We're
totally America's first order of business. Obviously, all the stuff going on over there in another part of the world.
Yeah, we love that. We love that over there. Meanwhile,
You
we're
know what I'm talking about.
positioning our entire military over off the coast of Venezuela. It's going to be a
Yeah.
good time.
Good time.
Now, just for fun, we don't need to play this. There's not like a whole lot of insight, but it was fun. Chris Shillzilla came out, made a little video about what he thought about the Mamdani Trump meeting here.
We must properly introduce Chris Shillzilla.
Let's do it.
Well, actually, is this the right one?
I guess you could say I'm something of an expert on UFOs.
Oh, great.
Nope.
Good. No, that was Shillzilla. That is him.
I know, but it's not
But
the
that's
jingle
not the
you
jingle.
want. And
Yeah, I
while
know.
you look for it, I'll say this: we haven't talked about Chris in a little while, but Chris is a young man we have been following ever since his days at CNN, especially during the COVID pandemic, where he had just perfectly encapsulated even just the spirit of sort of liberal journalism. He was the online editor at large. Okay, he wasn't in the studio. They rarely let him on TV. It was a big deal whenever they let him in the office, but he got to work from home. It was beautiful. And we got to watch and enjoy his journey from sort of CNN guy to
Internet
kicked
guy.
out of CNN for what he said during COVID. He's too partisan, gets kicked out. Just about to go, he kind of goes independent. We're rooting for you, Chris, to go independent. And then immediately he gets scooped up by, think tanks and things like this.
Yeah. His recent, I guess recent this year, we learned that he joined News Nation. Remember that? We were like, he's really part of alt media now. He's part of
Yes, he is the poster child, at least in our view, of the pipeline between mainstream media and the mainstream media individuals' infiltration of the independent media, and pretty much or alt media in this case, and pretty much exactly what we said would happen, and the chaos has sort of reigned ever since in the alt media space. We think mainly because of this long-standing institutional infiltration that we've seen. But here is his brilliant analysis.
I have 3 reasons why I think Donald Trump was always going to get along with Zoran Mamdani in this, at least their first face-to-face meeting. Reason 1, Donald Trump loves winners. He likes to be around winners. That's political winners, rich people, which he views as kind of winners in life, that powerful people. That's who he is attracted to. He thinks that's kind of the set that he runs in. And he thinks, he's probably right, being around winners is broadly good for him. People are like, he attracts other successful people to him. So Mamdani is a winner. Whatever you think of Mamdani's politics, he beat Andrew Cuomo, who was the 3-time elected governor of New York. He beat him soundly in a Democratic primary, and then beat him in a general election. So number 1, Trump likes winners.
Oh, what are the other 2? He didn't give us the other 2.
I know. I was so irritated.
Chris.
I went looking for the other 2. Apparently, they weren't very good because he didn't clip them from
Substack or like
show.
a medium gatekeeping going on or something.
Right. So you got to join his Substack, pay him some money. The other 2, but you don't even need the other 2 because his first one was so good.
So good.
Again, this assumption that Trump liking Mamdani is some sort of what's the word? I don't know, authentic thing. Like we're looking into a totally unfiltered, authentic. He loves winners. He's like, there's no scheme behind this.
Yeah, there's no reading
strategy.
deeper than what's presented.
And he's not wrong. He does like winners. And I think being liked by winners, liking winners, building this rapport is an obvious part of Trump's success and so many others' success, but kind of negating or forgetting to include the fact that they're always also scheming all the time, never not scheming, always be scheming.
Right. It's like going to a magic show and being like, David Copperfield cut himself in half for real, legitly, and thinking like, well,
don't know how he did it.
Don't know how he did it, but he definitely cut himself in half.
Yeah.
Like, well, okay, there's an illusory part of this, but yeah, interesting. Hey, Chris is gonna have his take, and We always want to hear what he
Auto-subscribe.
has to say, Chris. Chris, one day he'll be on our show, and we can chop it up and talk about meatballs and stuff.
It's
'cause he
really
likes
funny.
meatballs.
My personal Gmail, or you know, if it was not the Canary Cry Radio Gmail, but my Basil Gmail is. I don't use it very much. I don't get much on there. I don't use it for really anything. So when I do log in to check something, the primary inbox is completely packed with either like Google alerts, our newsletter, our own newsletter going to that, or Chris Shillzilla Substack email.
Sends out like 50 emails a day. I had to unsubscribe. My whole inbox was just Chris emailing us.
Yeah, I got
so I had to unsubscribe. Sorry, Chris.
4 emails from him yesterday. Let's see.
That's what I'm saying.
I get
Man, these
about
guys.
4 emails from Chris every day.
Real quick, are we pretty much done with the
I'm done.
Mamdani thing?
Whatever-
Okay,
whatever you got next.
real briefly here. Just this is just breaking news, Basil. It's got to be biblical. Lego, you know Lego, like the
I know
little
Lego.
things with the thing. They have a 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse set.
Is that real? Are you sure that's not AI?
It might be AI, but it is. But here's the other thing: it's not really the 4 Horsemen. It's just 4 horses for this like Chinese thing. And people are saying it's the 4 Horsemen.
Galloping horses canvas. Oh, I see. It doesn't say 4 horses of the apocalypse on there.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not a
Okay, cool.
literal 4 horsemen, but
Good breaking news.
And actually, hold on, Basil. I am at Lego.com. Rise of the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. It might be. This is Lego. Yeah, it's Legos. I think they did make a 4 Horsemen.
It's Lego
this is
ideas.
idea.
I don't know
Okay,
what
yeah, so
that is.
maybe
I
it's
think
not.
it's like you can go on there and like pitch
like concepts or
like
something.
the Lego design. Like if you're a design or like a what is the word? They have a word for it.
Creator.
It's in all their movies. Yeah, let's see. Oh, I found horse training and trailer set by Lego. This is not it. This is for
No.
horse girls.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is, whatever. Lego's going to capitalize on anything. So it doesn't surprise me one bit that this is a thing. But
Lego Friends horse training and trailer. Look at them go.
Wanted to
here we
bring
go.
this. Mhm.
This is funny. On eBay.
Yeah.
eBay. I found an eBay listing. I guess I can put it up on screen here. Let me do this.
I can look for it too.
Yeah, well, it's easier. I got this here. Go like this. Here's the eBay listing.
Oh, look at that.
100% real Lego 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse fully loaded minifigures.
There's only one.
Because see, it's
Okay, I see. All right.
again not necessarily real, but somebody who
$400? $100 per horseman?
These are for 4 minifigures, and
That's a
ripoff. Is kind of anyways. Good news, guns. All good. Okay.
All right. So let's get to this story here.
No debate. Must have digital ID, and you must bow down to the orb.
Our favorite eyeball scanning digital ID system, WorldCoin, is in the news here from Futurism.com. The headline: Sam Altman's eyeball scanning orb startup made a cult-like demand of its employees.
Ooh.
Read some of this here. If you thought tales of OpenAI's non-existent work-life balance were bad, wait until you get a load of Sam Altman's blockchain company. The startup, aptly named Tools for Humanity, builds itself as a global tech company working on open source solutions via blockchain. They talk about the orb, which we all know about. If you don't know about it, you stare into an orb, give him your biometric iris data in exchange for some WorldCoin. If the product sounds bizarre, just wait until you hear about the team building it. I don't know what's up with Futurism in this like anticipatory tease, because this article is not very long. It's like 4 or 5 paragraphs. but it just keeps doing like the just wait till you. Is that the new AI thing? Is that it's just
I
like
think
hypes it
so.
up a lot?
So you got to remember, we've been, we talked about the orb and Sam Altman's biometric monetization program back in whenever it first came out, before it came
Well, no,
out.
we talked about it when it was
2020.
Yeah, when they were doing the funding round. Yeah.
Even funding rounds before that. And this very sort of strange, kind of dystopian, even by and this is what we found, is even by the standards of the media who covers it, is it dystopian. And if you haven't been following, WorldCoin, Sam Altman's little orb you stare into, it takes all your biometrics and gives you $50 worth of a cryptocurrency, has been kicked out of several countries. Immediately did these countries start recognizing this is sort of taking advantage of our people and stealing their biometrics. Mostly it's because these individual countries want to do it themselves on a state level. But it's kind of like Bill Gates in a way. Like, he keeps getting kicked out of these countries for going in and not stealing, but in a way sort of
imposing the will of the
kind of
Western
extorting
world.
the third world citizens, giving them free money, which they'll take any money they can get, by stealing their not stealing, but getting their biometrics without them having even the faintest idea of what this means for them. Kicked out of Nigeria, I believe they were kicked out of India, kicked out of Jamaica, these kind of places. And when I see who was this? Was this Futurism? Is that who's writing this?
Yeah, Futurism has the article here. Yeah.
Famously, Elon Musk has a beef with Sam Altman. And I wonder if Futurism's coverage of this has something to do with that beef. Like, if Elon has some influence in various places to kind of kick Sam Altman out of there.
Yeah. The Bill Gates model is troubling because if you think about what ultimately came of a lot of the things that Bill Gates, like the bricks that Bill Gates laid over the past, several decades, ultimately ended up with the pandemic, the global pandemic.
Right.
So, if that's the case, that's not a good sign for what types of things might happen where we need a WorldCoin. We need a digital ID to verify our humanity online and all this kind of stuff. We've been talking about that for a long time. Back to the article from Futurism here. Okay. It says here, according to Business Insider, the company demands fanatical devotion from its employees who are strongly encouraged to work through their weekends, quote, for the good of humanity. Quote, we will neither fail nor will we be an average outcome. And that's what we want. And that's all I care about every day. And all you should care about every day, and nothing else should matter, end quote. The company's CEO, Alex Blania, told employees at an all-hands meeting, according to Business Insider, quote, if you should care about something else, and if you want something else, you should just not be here. It's as simple as that, end quote. Now, to me, it just reads like a really passionate CEO of a company. I guess it's worse because it's WorldCoin and it's telling you like nothing else matters but getting the biometric iris scan data of everybody in the world. But, in terms of the ethos, I don't know. It's not the worst thing, and it's not the most egregious thing I've read. Business Insider also viewed a video taken in February of the company's former office in San Francisco, which showed a TV screen broadcasting tools for humanity's, quote, team values. Quote, we are very, very, in parentheses, hardworking, one screen insisted. Quote, we believe this is a once-in-a-lifetime project and that success is important for humanity. Therefore, we work weekends, we're always on call, and we push as hard as our circumstances allow us to. As a result, we defy the odds, get to escape velocity, and succeed on the mission, end quote. Again, that's kind of like Silicon Valley ethos, is it not? Like the in an all-hands conclave review, it's a conclave reviewed by Business Insider, Blania said that the company exists entirely to achieve its goal of building a global digital identity system. The heck with everything else. Quote, we don't care about politics. We don't care about DEI. We don't care about anything. We just care about how we can achieve the mission through merit, performance, and excellence, the CEO said. The news comes as the orb struggles to attract even a fraction of the attention Altman and his cronies had hoped. By November of 2025, 2 years after the product launched with a goal of 2 billion signups, it's only managed to snag 17.5 million, or less than 1% of its total goal. 17.5 million is still a lot of people, but certainly if you're talking, your goal is 2 billion, you're falling a little short.
Doesn't help. He
what's
keeps
the
getting
setback?
kicked out of countries. I think there was something where he got kicked out of San Francisco too. Like the city didn't let him come in because, again, he was like targeting the homeless.
Right.
You're right. It kind of, on one hand, it can kind of read as just like a passionate CEO thing. Like,
yeah, it's just because it's WorldCoin. It comes off terrible. It comes off as pinky in the brain.
It is a tactic, though, used by cults, and they also use this in things like in different scams and MLMs and stuff like this. And what it is you make the pitch kind of so ludicrous that it immediately weeds out any discerning individual. And the point is, anybody who makes it past the ludicrousness of the pitch, that they're either choosing to not, discern the problems with what you've said, or they're kind of the type of people who you can get away with a lot. So it's sort of a way to self-filter out the people who would give you trouble later. So, you say, like, this is what we do, this is what we want. If you don't like it, get out of here. And they kind of do hope, actually, that some people will leave. They want those people to leave because the only people left are the ones who have made it past this sort of absurd barrier.
This curation process. With that failure in mind, the failure about only reaching 17.5 million as opposed to 2 billion, the company's, quote, humanitarian mission looks much more like an ideological tool to justify some pretty intense exploitation of the startup's workers than an altruistic duty to help humanity. Case in point, the demand for weekend work and always being on call directly increases the amount of unpaid labor performed by employees. I mean, I don't know if they're on salary, then I guess there are plenty of, my wife is like basically on call 24/7 and she doesn't get extra money for working off hours and stuff. It's just, if you're in a salary pay, that's kind of how it is. Allowing the company to spend less on the workers building orb as its flounders. The product might be nonsense, a surveillance orb inscrutably connected to the blockchain, but the exploitation behind it is clearly anything but. So the exploitation is nonsense, Basil. That's the overall take.
No, I think they're saying the exploitation is not nonsense, is what.
You're right. I'm sorry. Yes, the exploitation is not nonsense. The product itself might be. There is a lot of talk about digital IDs right now because of what's going on in the UK. And we had this other story that we're not going to bring, but Newsweek reported Illinois rolls out digital ID driver's licenses. So, we're kind of entering this next phase, I guess, of digitization of everything from money to our IDs and any kind of official documentation. And of course, you and I, Basil, have been talking about these issues for a long time, and it's very easy to say mark of the beast, image of the beast, and certainly we have been doing that for over a decade. But I'm noticing that there is I'm going through it might be too dramatic to call it some kind of existential crisis, but it is somewhat of a crisis. Because I'm seeing a lot of passion from believers when it comes to all these different topics, which I think is great, that more people are reading their Bibles and studying end times and looking at the world events around us and doing the same thing we did 10 years ago, where it's like, wait a minute, there's a lot here. There's a lot of confluence, a convergence of what was predicted and what we're seeing. But there isn't a method right now to, I don't know, not categorize necessarily, but allow for things to reflect prophetic aspects of scripture without saying like this is fulfilling it, because I think that's where problems come in when you start saying that this fulfills that, or set dates, or it's going to happen here or there. We just don't know. And our late friend, mentor, Dr. Michael Heiser, was very well spoken about the ambiguity of prophecy, and how the Old Testament prophets, they sometimes didn't even know what they were writing. They were writing certain things that mattered to the times that were right in front of them, but they didn't necessarily know that they were writing a prophecy about the Messiah, for example, like for some of the prophets. And the Bible clearly talks about how they wouldn't have killed Jesus if they knew who he was, or what was going on, God's greater plan to what's happening. So there's no eschatological system right now that accounts for that ambiguity and that level of God's sovereignty, that he's going to fulfill things the way he wants to. And there will be things that resemble a whole lot of stuff, but until the real fulfillment happens, it's more of repeating archetypes of events. And Basil, you and I have talked about this a lot over the years, but there hasn't. I think it's time for me to really put it down on paper, pen and paper, and it's not to create a new ism or a new I don't know, a new belief system or anything like that. It's just more of a way to flush out a hermeneutic tool for new believers and veteran believers to assess biblical prophecy, study it, because there's so many different views. If you're a new believer and you're walking into studying Bible prophecy because of stories like WorldCoin, for example, right? Because I think when you're just learning about this stuff and you learn about WorldCoin, you learn about the mark of the beast and the image and stuff, you're like, oh my gosh, this is it. Like, it feels like this is it. This is going to be the thing. And it might be, but you can acknowledge that it definitely looks like it, but also remain cautious and be like, okay, we don't know for sure. I mean, WorldCoin they're not doing well in terms of popularity. I don't know that they're going to make it too far unless, they manufacture a crisis or something like that allows WorldCoin to step in to be the savior types, which is entirely possible. So I'm rambling about this because I do want to put it down on paper, and I do want to make it like an official thing. Temporarily right now, I'm calling it archetypalism, just because there are archetypes throughout scripture that, throughout the Old Testament, and then things that are fulfilled in the New Testament, studying how that worked out. And a lot of scholars have already done this. It's called typology. And you can study how that, the New Testament sort of fulfilled Old Testament stuff and certain things that aren't fulfilled yet. And apply it to a method or a hermeneutic that accounts for all the different views, takes what's good with them, and maybe set aside what may not be as important of a point, and create a tool set or a mechanism, or just I like tool set because it's not like a doctrine, right? It's just more of a tool that one can use to analyze world events, news, stuff like that, stuff that we've been doing, Basil, and systematize it a little bit and put it on paper so that people can understand where we're coming from. Because I'm noticing that people don't really know where we're coming from, because number one, we're not like super upfront with our eschatological isms.
We just can't explain it every time we reference
that's
it.
what I'm saying. It's tough to be like, I kind of agree with this little thing about pre-trib, but I'm mostly pre-wrath. But even in my head, it's very complicated. It's not like this simple thing. So if there's a way to put some language to some of that, help believers to catalog things, and maybe look at, for example, like the preterist view, right? If you're unfamiliar, the preterists believe that all of Revelation was fulfilled in AD 70 when the temple fell. All of it, all the stuff, the imagery and the things that were discussed in the book of Revelation were fulfilled in AD 70 in Jerusalem, and boom, there you go. We're done with it. There's nothing else that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I think if you study that topic from a preterist view, you certainly find things you're like, wow, there are a lot of things that seem to line up with what was prophesied about the destruction of the temple and what Jesus talked about in Matthew 24 and the Revelation and stuff like that. But clearly, we don't have a new heaven, new earth. There's like stuff that's in the book of Revelation that still hasn't happened. You have to hyper allegorize it to make it work in a preterist type of context. But you can acknowledge, hey, 8070 was important prophetically. It reflects a very powerful archetype of what's prophesied to be the end times, or, the unfolding of the mark and all this kind of stuff. And acknowledge that it might be part of prophecy, but not the fulfillment of it. And traversing through that and putting it on paper, that's my goal here. My goal for 2026. I am going to do a focus group with it. And if you go to my Patreon, I have a 35-minute rant where I talk about all this and a couple different levels to hop in. And if you want to, I made the focus group part a little bit, maybe it's a little too high of a barrier of entry, because I want people to be serious about wanting to be part of it, but also, to be co-authors of the book in a sense, like the council co-authors. So if you're interested in that, go look for my Patreon, patreon.com/facelikethesun. And I'm doing that, but I want to pitch it here because I forgot to pitch it last episode. And also I'm pretty passionate about it, Basil, because I told you about my timeline on X. I mean, it's toast. It's absolutely toast. All I'm getting are Christian Zionists and their takes on stuff, which is fine. It's fine, but it's a very narrow view that, again, certain things make a lot of sense to me when it comes to the topic of Israel and Jews and how that is played out with Old Testament promises, New Testament, New Covenant conversations, how Paul used the word Israel in the New Testament in, for example, the book of Romans. The majority of the time when he says Israel or Jews, he's talking about the ethnic nation, but there are a couple times where he uses it in a more universal sense of that's consistent with the Gospels, no Greek or Jew. It's not those who are descended from the flesh that are a part of Israel, stuff like that. So there's room for this. I'm not going to say replacement theology, because some people accuse that narrative to replacement theology or supersessionism or whatever, because I think they take it a little too far as well. But it's this conversation that's not happening, of a more grounded approach to eschatology. Because if you're a new believer, you're walking into the marketplace of ideas when it comes to biblical prophecy, you're going to get attracted to the loudest, biggest thing, which is preacher rapture. It's Christian Zionism, because it's the loudest, most popular thing. And actually, I posted on X a few weeks ago, Basil, or maybe a week ago, the top selling books, like Christian themed books in America. And it's all like very sketchy theology. And the Left Behind series is absolutely number one when it comes to Bible prophecy. And I mean, they're like basically the top of all Christian. Yeah, sales. Yeah. I mean, they're pretty much up there with all the top Christian books of other topics, like more, I don't know, stories and stuff like that, whatever it may be. Left Behind series has sold more copies than Jesus Calling. Do you remember Jesus Calling by Sarah Young? And, the issue with that for me was that Sarah Young wrote in first person as Jesus in the book, so it's kind of like, all right, I get that maybe the theology isn't like super bad or anything, but if you're presenting something as the words of Jesus, you got to be really careful. And there's some issues with that. But you bring that up with a normal Sunday going believer, and they're like, oh, I like that book. It really helped me. And maybe God helped that person in their walk with that book. And certainly anything can do that. But if we're really serious about analyzing our eschatology and our hermeneutic, I want to put this together as a guide to help people, especially if you're looking at world events and world news. It's so easy to fall into either like a date setting thing, or this is it, this is the fulfillment of it. And I think archetypalism will allow those conversations to take place and leave room for ambiguity, because that's how the scriptures are. There's ambiguity in how prophecies are fulfilled. People don't like that. People like to have like concrete black and white answers. And it's simply not like that, especially with God's sovereignty and his supernatural view on or supernaturalism on how things play out and how things work. So anyway, I wanted to bring digital ID conversation in that context, because I think it's a conversation that needs to happen and not enough people are having it. And people are either fear mongering or dismissing it entirely, or calling the other team heretics because they don't share your view of some eschatological aspect, and none of it is fruitful in my opinion. So
yeah,
just to
and
bring some peace to the conversation, Basil. And
well, I think now's a good time for that. We've all obviously been watching with bated breath the resulting, I don't know, world that we'll live in as Christendom, if we can call it, sort of has it been expanding in recent years, and especially this last year. And with that comes all the problems with Christendom that it's suffered every time that it experiences a sort of growth like this, and you get just all manner of different people approaching scripture or Christian tradition or even theologies that maybe they don't quite have the standard of scriptural, maybe proof isn't the right word, but there's a lot of new people coming to these things, and so we're certainly seeing the sort of tumult of that kind of expansion. But I think it's just the right time to really suit up, dive in, find a way to both discuss, look at, maybe saying find a way to interpret is never quite really what we want to try to do, but just follow in the tradition of thousands of years of earnest, God-fearing people who are trying to figure out the weird tightrope act that is living in this fallen world and also looking forward to one more perfect. So that's great. I think it'll be a great exercise for you. I encourage people to get involved at that. If you see what we see, and if you want what we want, and realize that as believers, we're here to sort of work at these things. Nothing is given to us easy, and if something is given to us too easy, it's probably not what we really want or need. So that's great. So you're doing that over on the Face Like the Sun Patreon, you say?
I'm starting it there. Yeah, I'll start publishing more stuff on
what
X
can
and
people
YouTube and stuff
expect?
too.
What's the
Yeah, I mean,
how they interact? What's the frequency
right.
of
So
stuff?
for the people who want to be part of the inner circle, I call it the inner circle of 33 because it's fun.
Ooh.
And I'm limiting it to 33 seats. Again, it's a pretty high entry point. So if you can't do it, I might lower the barrier of entry because it might be a little too high. But yeah, the idea is to have a Zoom call at least once a month. I'll share everything, all my research, and pretty much present the written stuff. And you can help me chisel it. And I need an accountability one. I need to make sure that I'm not falling off the rails theologically too. That's something I can go into a cave and write it and come out and say, I've got it. It's the greatest. But if it's not, if it's not going to resonate or make sense, or if I'm outside the bounds of what a good group of people that know where we're coming from, if we don't get the approval of, not the approval, but just like the green light from some of those folks that I find important for the conversation, then it might not be good. So I need that accountability. I need that inner group of people who are really seeing the same thing I am. So
one big signal that something like this is needed is we've seen it, we've pointed it out, we've lived through it many times, that one of the tricks of the enemy in all his different forms here on earth is to present a false dichotomy. It's either this or it's that, and presenting to the two options. I mean, the corruption of the two-party system is exactly this. They give you two options, you get to choose, and whatever you choose doesn't matter because it's, inevitably comes out to benefit whoever was the one who invented the two choices. We have an interesting situation in Christendom right now where, basically regarding, I'll say just simply regarding Israel, at least on sort of the mass online conversation market, you're given two options and you got to pick an option, and you are enemies with the other option, and you are yoked with everybody else on your side. And that's kind of one of the first things when you come to develop a sense for how this world works and how things are corrupted most commonly, is having to buy into a duality when that duality was sort of presented to you and was not necessarily come to organically by everybody who's doing the seeking. So we see a lot of that. And I think this is a great way to at least do our best to kind of work through that sort of thing and identify it and hopefully come out the other side. Most importantly, closer to God, closer to the Father, closer to Jesus, more strong and confident in our faith. And everything after that is a wonderful cherry on top.
Yep, absolutely. So,
Okay.
yep, there you go. That's my little pitch.
With that, I want to point out some fun things. It's just going to be a little intro to the Ostrich Pharma. We're going to get into
we're not doing COVID or the jab stuff.
Oh, I'm telling you, this stuff.
Oh, it's
is
intro.
the
Okay,
intro
yeah.
into
All
the
right.
ostrich stuff.
Okay, got it.
So first of all, the Telegraph on the 15th of November. This was just last week. The Telegraph had a headline that says government withholding data that may link COVID jab to excess deaths. Now, we've seen this, obviously. We've looked at this for a long time. This is something that we went through even, contemporaneously as it was happening. But it's kind of easy to forget these days that there are organizations and people, like, stuff is still happening when it comes to the final history of 2020 to 2025, and to a degree, I believe a lot of the distractions going on in the world, a lot of the things going on in the world, are to a degree here to distract us from the ongoing sort of accountability that is just right on the edge. But the Telegraph, very interesting broad story here, obviously a UK outlet, and they wrote this very simple story. I'm going to give it to you just right off the bat here. Government withholding data that may link COVID jab to excess deaths. The public health watchdog has been accused of a cover-up after refusing to publish data that could link the COVID vaccine to excess death. Now, the public health watchdog is UKHSA. Says the UK Health Security Agency argued that releasing the data would lead to the distress or anger of bereaved relatives if a link were discovered. So the UKHSA is the watchdog group. They're the ones who are supposed to be finding the truth and getting it out to the people. And they are the ones arguing that by releasing this data, they will distress or anger bereaved relatives if a link were to be discovered. Public health officials also argued that publishing the data risked damaging the well-being and mental health of the families and friends of people who died. Saying,
okay.
if a link in this study, and we'll get to the study, if people found out that there was a link, their mental health would be hurt, their well-being would be hurt, they would be distressed or angry because of what this meant for their dead relatives. Last year, a cross-party group expressed alarm about, quote, growing public and professional concerns over the UK's rates of excess deaths since 2020. In a letter to UKSHA, I'll call it UKSHA, but it's UK Health Security Agency. And, in a letter to UKSHA and Department for Health, the MPs and peers said that potentially critical data, which map the date of people's COVID vaccine doses to the date of their death, had been released to pharmaceutical companies, but not put into the public domain. They argued that the data should be released on the same anonymized basis that it was shared with the pharmaceutical groups, and there seems to be no credible reason why that should not be done immediately. Us for Them, a campaign group, requested that UKSHA release the data under Freedom of Information laws, but the agency refused, making a number of different arguments, including that publishing the data, quote, could lead to misinformation that would, quote, have an adverse impact on vaccine uptake in the public. Classic. We can't show them the data that shows all the horrible things about this, and they would stop taking it. Uksha also claimed there would be a risk of individuals being identified, despite the request being made for an anonymized data set. After a 2-year battle, the Information Commissioner ruled in Uksha's favor, backing its refusal to publish the data. So besides the excuses of people will be mad and people will stop taking vaccines, they're saying, well, there's patient names in the data, so we can't release the patient names because that could be bad.
Redact. There's a big black marker that have a redact.
They already did. They already anonymized the data. It's already done. They anonymized the data when they sent it to the pharma companies. They would have to do no extra work at all to just make public the copy that they sent to the pharma companies.
It's too much work, Basil.
This is the reason why they were given the go-ahead to not release the data. Reform UK has committed to a public inquiry into excess deaths and alleged COVID vaccine harms. Richard Tice, the party's deputy leader, said, quote, "We knew there was concern about excess deaths, which is why we called for an inquiry. Instead, the unelected Gwango Uksha," I don't know what Gwango means, but they just use the word Gwango. Kwango? Maybe Kwango? I want to look up unelected Kwango Uksha. Just Kwango the word, see what that means, is involved in a scandalous cover-up of how and why people are dying. This is totally unacceptable, and the health secretary must overrule them. If we are not prepared to learn lessons about why people are dying, what sort of society are we? Ben Kingsley. Okay, what does it mean?
Kwango. Quasi-autonomous non-governmental organization.
Oh, interesting.
So it's kind of like saying NGO, but
yeah,
like their own version of it. Yeah.
But also interesting that this Uksha is a quasi-autonomous non-government organization, and it's the one stopping this stuff from coming out. It's an NGO. Just say that. Like the NGO is what's not releasing this very important information to the public, even though we already know what it says. Like this is the wild part about the sort of narrative control. We obviously know what is in the study. We know the result of the study. They've already said, like, we already know it, but they're refusing to release the actual study because it might make misinformation, or people might get angry. They're already angry.
They're angry.
All like whatever you would call
this is to prevent any actual accountability. That's what this is. This has nothing to do with the people's well-being or their mental state. That's all hogwash. This is because they don't want to have any paper trail that would cause anybody to be held accountable for what happened over the last
in a sort of court of law, right? And the fact that it's an NGO and not an actual government organization is actually a protective layer about, they can't, like a politician can't release it. They can't take a vote in parliament. They're not accountable to even the government. It says here, Ben Kingsley, the legal director of Us For Them, said the way Uksha had handled the case reveals a desperation that this data should not in any form see the light of day. He added, quote, "It is perverse for Uksha to argue that this data should not be released because the public could feel distressed or angry if patterns or correlations were to be identified. You have to ask yourself why it is that the public are considered incapable of handling this data. It reveals patronizing mindset, which also characterized the pandemic response. Do what we say. Don't ask any questions. We know what is best for you." Mr. Kingsley said the government's approach appeared similar to the response to the infected blood scandal, in which thousands of people contracted HIV and hepatitis C from contaminated blood products. Quote, "The infected blood inquiry published its report while this case was underway," he said. Quote, "We learned that for years and years, the government didn't think the public could handle the truth, so they kept it from us." Quote, "Now we are seeing very similar behavior from Uksha. We don't know if the data would reveal any evidence of correlation, let alone causation, but we can see they are desperate to avoid having to answer that question in public." UKSHA spokesperson said, quote, protecting patient confidentiality is of critical importance. Releasing this data presented a real possibility that it would be used to identify individuals, which could result in significant distress. UKSHA provided a carefully anonymized version of the data set that removed the risk of identification. We welcome the decision of the tribunal to dismiss the appeal. And that's the end of the article. And it's really unusual. First of all, everything in here doesn't come as a surprise or anybody. I'm happy to hear that there are still people working and there's still these reports that, you know, people are fighting for. It's also kind of relieving to see that their excuses for not releasing them are so patently weak and lame and, you know, atrocious reasons. Even the reason of, you know, the patient confidentiality is why we can't release it. What does that sound like to you? Does it? Because it sounds like the Epstein files to me.
Yeah.
This is the reason the
Pretty much.
Epstein
It's the
files
same
have been
thing.
held for so long as well. Even though anonymized versions of the report exist, they are using this as an excuse. But that is how it ends. The end of the article is UKSHA provided a carefully anonymized version of the data set and that removed the risk of identification. We welcome the decision of the tribunal to dismiss the appeal. And for those who spent the time during COVID and post-COVID reading the mainstream articles like this about these reports, about these conjectures, about the misinformation or whatever, you'll notice that there's something missing in this article, and it's a single word about, well, some people think this, but it's been debunked, and misinformation on the internet and Joe Rogan and so all these medical
there's less ad hominem type
there's
of
no
argument.
reason to release it because you know that like standard copy paste second half of article that even if they have the daring, even if they're daring to tell you this piece of news that the information exists and they don't want to release it, you know, if a mainstream media outlet was going to report this, they would almost be required by law to come in the second half and say, but it's stupid to think that there is any problems and you're a right-wing extremist.
Right. They need some, they need a talking head they can pin and throw a little ad hominem attack at them and stuff like that.
That's right.
One clarification between NGO and Quango. NGO obviously independent from government, and theoretically, you know, it's being funded that way. But with the Quango, it's funded by government. So
yeah,
the
well,
critics,
some NGOs are too.
Yeah,
I mean, USAID. That's what it did. It was government.
So I guess it's the same thing.
Funding NGOs, right?
Yeah. So the critics are calling Quango basically outsourced government because it
So this
functions
was
like
put out
independent body.
by the Telegraph about a week ago. Very interesting. Okay. I mean, look, we don't do a whole lot of COVID reporting anymore. You know, there's stuff going on, but it's just drives you nuts to try to get any information on it because any reporting is done in the traditional way where they tell you, oh, something's happening, but also you're a terrorist if you think anything's happening.
Right. Let's play this jingle just for a good, you know, a good throwback.
It's Corona time. COVID-19, 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 yes. COVID-19, COVID-19.
Now, 2 days later, 2 days later, after the Telegraph put out this story, we have the Daily Mail. And the Daily Mail, not that one, Gons. Go back to the other Daily Mail one. The Daily Mail put out this version of the story. And they say, health chiefs accused of cover-up after failing to reveal data that may link COVID jabs to excess deaths. Okay, this was put out on the 17th. And I'll tell you, long story short, the first half of this article is more or less just a rewrite or a copy and paste of what the Telegraph already put out, right? Kind of what I said, just telling the story, giving the quotes, this is what's happening, that's it. But Daily Mail, being the Daily Mail, went ahead and did their duty as UK's mainstream media. to give you the full response. The right-wing extremists, crazy, debunked, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not going to read it for you, but I'll give you a piece of it here. But it basically goes into, and Daily Mail, they love making their super long articles, and they did it here too. They go on September 2025, there were no excess deaths. Let me go further down. Research by the World Health Organization now puts the number of lives saved by the COVID vaccines at around 475 in the UK, 475,000 in the UK, with many more kept out of hospital or ventilator. Oh, yay, the vaccines worked. They did go ahead and say, however, COVID vaccines, like any medical treatment, do carry some risk. And they give you the research has shown that AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson vaccines were linked to a rare but serious blood clot in the brain. Pfizer and Moderna jabs, meanwhile, have been linked to rare cases of heart inflammation. They don't even say myocarditis. They just say rare cases. So, they're given the business. This is the business. Then they go into, speaking at Reform UK's conference, one of Britain's most eminent oncologist professors, Angus Dalgleish, said to me to share with you today that he thinks it's highly likely that the COVID vaccines have been a significant factor in the cancers in the royal family. This is the crazy conspiracy theorist they're bringing up. Let's see here. Dr. Malhotra, a cardiologist, also said taking COVID vaccine was more likely to cause harm than the virus itself. But his claims attracted widespread criticisms, with experts in viral immunology arguing that there is no credible evidence that these vaccines disrupt tumor suppressors or drive any kind of process that results in cancer. Health Secretary Wes Streeting also said that it was shockingly irresponsible of Reform to allow Dr. Malhotra at the conference. The party said that it does not endorse what he said, but does believe in free speech. So you get it. They give the whole thing, right? You're a crazy person if you think any of that stuff in the first half of the article was true. And so we have this very interesting picture of the Telegraph unusually putting out a pretty clean report on what we all know is going on and the back and forth of trying to get it released. 2 days later, the Daily Mail takes that Telegraph report and then adds all the required mainstream, anti-misinformation craziness after it. You go, that's interesting. They obviously felt sort of a responsibility, if not a direct order, to take this story from the Telegraph and, make it more palatable for use in the mainstream, to make sure to establish the correct narrative, to put down anybody who's questioning it, to yada, 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 yada. Well, then, interestingly enough, we see how many days later? 5 days after they do that, we get this headline. Owner of the Daily Mail strikes £500 million deal to buy the Daily Telegraph. The owner of the Daily Mail has struck a $500 million deal to buy the Daily Telegraph with the aim of securing the future of one of the world's most prestigious media brands. So we have this conglomeration of UK media coming together, and I don't know if it's in response of this Telegraph article, putting out there what they shouldn't put out there without the, the narrative blast at the end of it. Or perhaps the Telegraph wrote what they wrote to encourage the Daily Mail to buy the outlets, buy out the executive.
Yeah, it's like it's Exhibit C. Look at how we report so fairly, and leaving a little room.
It's kind of like, do you want to stop narrative scrambles like this one we just did 2 days ago? If you want to look, people might start waking up if they read our stuff. You better buy it, and you better buy it at a high price so that you can come in and control that narrative again. And we're seeing this happen all the time. I mean, it's easy to think, it's easy to get distracted by what we're seeing in sort of alt media and yada, yada, yada. Because it's pretty generally recognized. The mainstream media is losing its power. And, in the US, we have the Democrats, realizing they got to get into podcasts and blah. It's the war for your mind. This is the fifth generation warfare. If you're sitting and thinking like, who cares? Who cares who's buying who cares what narratives, making it and not making it? Who cares, how the conglomerates are congealing even more into a singular monolithic, narrative crafting, casting device? That this is the broad fifth generation warfare. This is the control of the battlefield for tomorrow. Because as we see, in all the drama with Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens, this fairly successful, again, fifth generation warfare to destroy the alternative ways of seeking out information, or the alternative non-controllable narratives. We know they're trying their best to take control of the alt media. We have seen this in Shillzilla and lots of other places. We've seen the disintegration of what once seemed to be a sort of powerful movement of alt media, now getting disenfranchised and dissolved right in front of our faces. And at the same time, we see these big media moves continuing with what they know has worked in the past. And it's important because we always, as much as we can appreciate the revolution in the fifth gen warfare and the alt media and the independent media, and how we're in a much better place than we used to be in, and whoever's responsible for that, if it was Trump, blah, 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 blah. What's unfortunate is that there's always tomorrow. We may have won the battle, but we haven't won the war. And the way that they are looking forward to the midterms and blah, blah, we're going to blink and it's going to be a year from now. And everything that we understand about the media landscape and how we can even access any information could be completely different, because that's basically what happened the past, I'd give it maybe 18 months, an entirely new situation in 18 months. And so what we can do is we end up finding, and this is what we've always tried to really focus and specialize in, Gons, is finding the truth oftentimes in places that they're not expecting it for it to come out. And one place, did you have anything burning on your heart you want to mention before I transition here?
I was just going to mention, I was just reading up a little bit on the Telegraph history. It is an old. I won't. I was just going to mention that it changed hands a lot over the last century. But in the last year, in 2025, in May, some conservatives in the UK pushed back because there was a proposal for the UAE to acquire about 15% of the Telegraph. Mm-hmm. And that actually, it was set to happen. Like the pushback didn't work and it was set to happen. But on the 14th, so literally a week ago, this company that's represented by the UAE, they dropped their bid because of negative media coverage. And now the DailyMail stepped in to become the owner. So interesting.
Okay. Exciting. Yeah. Good timing.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I think we've always been quite strong in, Gons, and what has served us and our community so well, is casting a really wide net, because often we learn about other things going on by paying attention to smaller, sometimes more cultural, more obscure stories that end up telling the broader truth, I think oftentimes without them even realizing it. And I was I put off following this story last week because we didn't have time, and I didn't do it on Thursday for Canary Clubhouse because I didn't want people to miss it, and not everybody tunes into Clubhouse, although I think they should. But this is coming from The Atlantic, and The Atlantic headline of "All the Ostriches must die. How the That's right. And believe it or not, yes, this is all tied up in basically everything we just mentioned. How the plight of a few hundred birds in Canada became an all-out fight for freedom. And let me just give you a little taste here. The police came at dawn. Karen Esperson watched them drive into the valley, more than 40 cruisers in a line. They were on a mission from the government. All of her ostriches must die. Karen and her business partner, Dave Belinsky, were standing in the outdoor pens of their farm in the mountains of Canada's West Kootenay. Excuse me, Canadians, if I'm not pronouncing that right. You got crazy stuff up there. The fate of their flock had been taken up by right-wing media and had become another front in a spiritual war. An angry group of their supporters with signs and walkie-talkies gathered on the property. They'd set up a barricade to slow the cops' advance. Several logs laid across the dirt near the turnoff from the highway. The activists had been camping out for months, their numbers sometimes reaching into the hundreds. They knew the government was saying that the ostriches had bird flu, but they were convinced that this was a cover for some other bigger scheme. The feds were conspiring with the United Nations and Big Pharma, they said. Small farmers' rights were being trampled, but Dave and Karen's birds had other, more powerful friends. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was making calls to Canadian officials. Dr. Oz had offered to evacuate the ostriches to his ranch in Florida.
Dr. Oz stepped in, or was it trying to?
Right off the bat, I mean, they call it a spiritual war, which is interesting. We'll get into that. They give you a nice roundup of everybody involved, Big Pharma, the UN, the global sort of health community. And if you needed any more clues that something bigger was going on, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was personally getting involved, and Dr. Oz, who I forget what position he holds, some important position in the health health infrastructure for the U.S., was offering to bring the ostriches from Canada to Florida to save them. Says here, Canada, quote, respects and has considered the inputs of the United States officials, the nation's deputy chief veterinary officer had said. They have a deputy chief veterinary officer. But rules were rules and birds were birds, even if they were the size of refrigerators. And so a convoy of police had been sent to occupy the farm. Law enforcement drones were flying overhead. The electricity was cut off. The farm supporters had already threatened local businesses that were renting equipment to the cops, saying they would shoot employees. Then someone claimed that they'd placed a bomb somewhere on the property. And it's beautiful. I'm not going to read everything word for word, but I put some work into highlighting some of the most important pieces here. But you can just see, for those who have been paying attention, and remember, this is the Atlantic, that not as much a news organization as it is sort of a cultural engineering device. And you can already see that the left versus right, the crazy right-wing extremists were violent and threatening and bombing. And from other stories we've heard, it harkens back to like January 6th, J6, and the violence there, and who actually was involved in that, and were there people there who maybe shouldn't have been there. I mean, even to the recent sort of investigations to the pipe bomber of the both Republican and Democratic headquarters, and these investigations leading to actual members of the police force, et cetera, et cetera. You can see all that sort of coming together in the constellation of what we're about to go into here. At 7 a.m., while the police were stuck behind the logs near the highway, a man slipped out of sight, donned a balaclava, and grabbed a jerry can of fuel. He crept over to the next door neighbor's house and doused its front with gasoline. Not more than 50 yards away, a group of ostrich activists stood around a bonfire, streaming from their phones as they sing the battle hymn of the Republic. When the neighbor came outside and tried to chase the would-be arsonist away, her scream for help were broadcast live on social media above the sound of glory, glory, hallelujah.
Oh my gosh, this is like
apocalyptic insanity. And I wanted to give you that full intro to the picture that they're painting here, because once we get into it, your eyebrows kind of will start to raise, right? Because there's the facts of this situation as they're presented, and then there's the narrative that is kind of laid over it by the Atlantic here. And again, as people have been paying attention for years now, you can start to see the weird narrative, the infiltrations, things like this, and the bigger, broader picture. For decades, Karen and Dave had been raising hundreds of ostriches on a 58-acre plot in the small town of Edgewood, British Columbia. They'd earned a living from the meat and hide and feathers and from a moisturizing lotion that they made from the rendered ostrich fat. They'd also welcomed tourists to the property, bust in through the Monashi Mountains on a farm safari. But in mid-December of last year, the flock at Universal Ostrich Farm was overtaken by disease. The young birds in particular were having trouble breathing. Mucus leaked from their eyes and their beaks. Some were clearly feverish. They were roosting in puddles, even in the cold. Over the next few weeks, the birds began to die one by one, and then in groups. David hauled their carcasses across the property and buried them in 10-foot holes. The vet was out of town, so Karen did her best to nurse the sick, but more than 20 died. So many that they didn't fit into the pits. Dave had to stash the rest beneath a tarp. I'm going to skip an paragraph here, going to the next one. In fact, there was some standing water, and the ostriches were never not out. Sorry, I'll get it. I don't want it to be random. Locals noticed what was going on. You could see ravens feeding on the carnage from the highway. The carnage. On December 28th, someone notified the sick bird hotline set up by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, which monitors and manages agricultural disease. Now the government was asking questions. Was there standing water on the property? Were the ostriches outdoors? Had Dave been aware of any wild birds nearby? In fact, there was some standing water, and the ostriches were never not outdoors, and lots of wild ducks had alighted in their pond and now were poking in the flock's straw bedding and leaving droppings by the food bowls. To the CFIA, it sounded like a recipe for bird flu. A pair of government inspectors showed up 2 days later in masks and Tyvek suits and swabbed a couple of the carcasses. Their tests results came back on New Year's Eve. The birds were positive for the H5 part of the H5N1, the deadly strain of avian influenza that has raged through North America in recent years, according to the Canadian authorities, and in keeping with the nation's agricultural trade agreements, the outbreak had to be stamped out. The birds would have to die.
We're all going to die.
For Americans, we will recognize a bit of this story when it comes to the destruction of the 8 billion chickens. The reason the eggs prices blew up in 2024, we tracked the ongoing pretty methodical destruction of the entire poultry industry in the United States. And some of these chicken farmers were having similar questions about, the testing, the this, the that, if the destruction of the entire country's poultry farm needed to be destroyed necessarily.
Pandemic! Bird flu! Bird flu!
I'm definitely going to get the bird flu.
The results show I'm positive for bird flu.
Those are
Now
the ostriches talking.
Dave and Karen's flock of charismatic mega poultry was a threat to public health. They tried to bargain with the government. They said the illness was subsiding. They argued that their older birds had never even gotten sick and might already be immune. Notice how it's they argued, they said, blah, blah. They noted that the compensation they would receive for a cull, up to $3,000 per animal, wouldn't be enough to cover their losses. And then Karen started spinning out a stranger story.
Oh, she was just spinning out a story, huh? She doesn't know what she's
Spinning
talking
out.
about. These crazy bird ladies. Go ahead.
Exactly. She's crashing out. She's spinning out. Here's a story. Universal Ostrich Farm wasn't just a farm, she told the CFIA. It was the site of cutting-edge research. She and Dave were working on a novel class of ostrich-based pharmaceuticals, medicines that could one day help rid the world of many different ills, including cholera, obesity, and COVID. The drugs might even put an end to bird flu itself.
We can't have that.
This is her crazy story, right?
We cannot have this. We must destroy these birds. We must destroy this lady's lives.
Destroy these birds. Dave and Karen, skipping down a little bit, Dave and Karen maintained that their birds were not a danger, but a cure. Now that the survivors had been exposed to bird flu, Karen told the government by email they'd been laying eggs that were full of bird flu antibodies. That could be the key to something extraordinary, which, by the way, is just a natural expression of how they actually make, like the flu vaccine. They breed it in chicken eggs. That's how the whole thing works. So the claim is that was happening with the surviving ostriches, the ones that didn't get sick, that the eggs that they were laying contained helpful material. That could be the key to something extraordinary. If those ostrich antibodies were extracted and sprinkled into feeders, she said, then wild ducks might inhale them and develop their own immunity. Treat enough birds this way, and the entire epidemic could be stopped. Karen's plan did not impress the experts at the CFIA. The experts, Gons. Her crazy spin-out plan didn't impress the experts at the CFIA. And to be clear, now listen to this. It isn't sound, they say. They say, to be clear, it isn't sound, her whole plan. Extensive tests have not been run to show that ostrich antibodies protect other animals when they're eaten or inhaled. They haven't done the test.
They haven't done it, so they wouldn't know. All right.
Not necessary. Okay, it's not sound because they haven't done it.
Extensive tests have not been done.
Yes,
what about the less
exactly.
extensive ones?
Oh, here we go, baby. Extensive tests. And remember, this is the Atlantic. They're trying to build, they're supporting a certain part of this narrative. But if we read between the lines, we can see it. Extensive tests have not been run to show that ostrich antibodies protect other animals when they're eaten or inhaled, even if the antibodies were effective in some way to stop the spread of H5N1. You'd have to load enough of them into feeders to shield the 2.6 billion migratory birds that cross the border into Canada. Okay, even if you have these magical ostriches, that is our pharmaceutical cure to all of the worst diseases that we use to lock people down and to push vaccines and blah, 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 blah. Even if that's true, you can't feed every single bird. That's just ridiculous. And CFIA scientists found no reason to believe that Dave and Karen's ostriches would be a special source of antibodies. An agency spokesperson told me. The farm's request for an exemption was denied. Now remember, this is the Canadian Health Service, who's works closely with all sorts of health and pharmaceutical companies, the same Canadian bureaucracy that did everything that they did during COVID and after. These are the people who did not even want to entertain the idea, this crazy lady's idea, that her surviving ostriches who did not get sick from bird flu could be producing antibodies. And I mean, who even cares? This lady's just talking crazy stuff about ostriches, and look, we're the Atlantic. We tell you it's all fake. Look, the government told us it's not real. There's nothing there. Then they go on. But Karen's email wasn't entirely diluted. Not in every detail.
Wow, that's so. It's like insulting in a.
It is
backhanded
exactly
way.
that.
Passive aggressive.
She and Dave had been in touch with So they tell you, basically, they give the impression that this lady just made this up, right? She just made it up.
Right.
She's trying to
Made
save
it
her
up.
birds.
Yep.
She's
There's
just some
no
crazy lady.
evidence.
No extensive research. Just
extensive
some
research.
crazy lady trying to save her birds. Okay, she'll say anything to save the birds. But her email wasn't entirely diluted, not in every detail. She and Dave had been in touch with Yasuhiro Tsukamoto, a scientist and the president of Kyoto Prefectural University, who has for years been pushing the idea. Pushing the idea. He's not researching, not discovering as his role as the president of the university, discovering health benefits. No, he's pushing the idea that ostriches, what a crazy guy. Why is he so stuck on ostriches? Why didn't he pick some other crazy? No, he's pushing the idea that ostriches and their powerful immune system could be the basis for an industry in biomedicine, that the birds' enormous eggs are factories for mass producing antibodies in response to almost any pathogen. A single ostrich hen can make about a cup of these a year, Tsukamoto says, which might in turn be layered onto ventilation screens, painted into face masks, or used in ointments, sprays, and pills. A few such products have already been marketed in Japan, among them a soy sauce with ostrich antibodies for E. coli and a cosmetic line with ostrich antibodies for the germs that can lead to pimples. The ostrich eggs can cure pimples, Cons. Not only was this not
the Nihonjin are already on it. We have already harnessed the power of the ostrich. Thank you very much.
Not only was it not a just crazy idea that this crazy bird lady did, there's an entire industry of ostrich-based health products going on in Japan. Dave and Karen first learned about Tsukamoto's work in March 2020 when he was inoculating ostriches with SARS-CoV-2 antigens. And here's where we really
March 2020. That's the month the lockdown started.
The month the lockdown started, he was inoculating ostriches with inoculating, meaning he was giving the ostriches immunity to SARS-CoV-2. They did the same and hoped to sell their antibodies to a company producing masks, but they couldn't land the deal and ended up with freezers full of SARS-CoV-2 resistant egg yolks.
Oh my gosh, we could have been healed by eggs. None of this would have happened if we just let the Japanese people speak.
These magical birds. Now look, I'll even give Canada and the Atlantic sort of the benefit of the doubt. Okay, they have not, we don't even get the impression that they cared or wanted to look into any of this. Of course, we know the Canadian pharmaceutical government relationship, it was even worse than the United States, which is really saying something. But let's go on here. Okay, a few years later, they'd moved on to something bigger. An ostrich diet pill made from antibodies for the enzymes that digest sugar and starch. This could be a natural rival for Ozempic, they believe.
Wow.
Sold
we must kill these birds and make an example. We just got the whole Ozempic craze going. We can't let this ostrich lady tear it all down with her crazy ideas that make sense.
This proven technology that's already going on in Japan, vaccines,
even wiping it into face masks, and then come on,
SARS-CoV-2 thing, like the whole, it's all these ostriches apparently. And again, look, we immediately do think, let's have some skepticism. Okay, this lady's birds are gonna get killed. she can say anything, she
Right,
should
sure.
try to save her birds. Okay. Yeah. But then you dive in and it's like, no, actually, there's a whole industry of this. It is a threat to Ozempic. It is a threat to the vaccination. It is a threat to all sorts of things. And the fact that it's like in Japan, this E. coli immunity being in soy sauce, like you're talking about natural, like foods, like not
Right,
even
natural foods.
necessarily pharmaceuticals, but foods that could destroy whole pharmaceutical industries. Maybe, I don't know. In November 2024, just around the time when all those wild ducks began to settle in their pond, Dave and Karen were finishing their business plan. They would partner with Tsukamoto's licensee in North America, a company called Ostrich Pharma USA, excuse me, and begin inoculating birds in early March. After that, the money would start pouring in. Within 5 years, the farmers' business plan predicted they'd clear $2 billion in annual sales. And the implication that the Atlantic is trying to give here is, oh, they were trying to make money. Oh, they were trying to make money, and the government was going to take their birds away. And these just greedy capitalists were just trying to make money on their birds. They didn't really care. But the reality of the situation is they were going to make ostrich immunity products that were going to take money away from Ozempic, all the GLP-1s, the vaccine makers, everything.
I just want to mention, as a Japanese American here, they mentioned soy, like shoyu, soy sauce. Here's that's how we talk about soy boys and stuff in the West, right? We talk, oh, you get soy products in your food and it's blah blah blah. Well, there's a difference between Japanese soy and like the American manufactured soy. The Japanese soy, especially like the shoyu stuff, it's been proven to help like cardiovascular stuff, metabolic stuff. It's very good for your body. That's why the Japanese live forever. They not live forever, obviously, but they live for much longer. They're eating raw fish, they're eating vegetables, and they're dipping everything in shoyu, and the shoyu is fermented. The ones that they have in America are not fermented and certainly have some other stuff in there that is not healthy for you. So it's true in the sense of like American soy, but when you're talking about Japanese, like actual natural soy sauce, it's very good for you. So I don't know, maybe there's a conspiracy there too, in terms of that stuff. But yeah, the ostriches would have exposed all of it. We must kill all the ostriches. We cannot have the ostriches take down the entire big pharma operation. Who would have thought if some birds would take down the whole system, Basil? I don't know.
Now listen to this operation, because here's the thing that I've been kind of pinging this story for months now. This has been going on all year.
Right.
And I'm not like in the Facebook group or something, but I was kind of keeping up with things as they were happening. So this is about a year story. So I'm not going to necessarily be able to cover every single thing, but the more I dug into it, the absolute crazier it got. Okay. So we know the stakes.
It gets even crazier.
We know the stakes, right? The stakes are you have the pharmaceutical companies stand to lose everything. The government health agencies also obviously doing the bidding of big pharma. They're deploying the police, like this militarized thing. We'll get into a little bit of it here, but Robert F. Kennedy gets involved, which obviously shows that there's something
there.
Seriously, something there. Dr. Oz was trying to rescue
the ostriches.
Bring them, like there's this full operation, a whole war to try to save not just the ostriches because they're cute and we should love animals, but like maybe perhaps the key to unraveling the entire global like infrastructure of corruption and poison, right? Now let's get into a little bit of this. The group was there, so we're going to talk about those who came to help, because this caught on really quick and people were jumping in. So I'm going to skip down to the paragraph right above the picture of her crying. The group was there, the group being the group of people who had come to the farm to help out. The group was there to save the animals, but by and large, they weren't PETA types. They knew Universal Ostrich Farm had long been in the killing business. In the mess tent, supporters were not averse to eating meat. They were less concerned with harm to living things than with the threat to human liberty. These were freedom activists. Remember, this is Canada, okay? And they're making this point. I mean, this is an interesting point they're making, but you can see how it fits into the narrative that no, they weren't protecting the ostriches because they love animals. They weren't PETA. We like PETA. We like sort of the eco-terrorists. They weren't trying to save the animals. These people were freedom activists. Dun, dun, dun. In Canada, this is an even bigger deal because you'll see in a second. People who had joined the convoy protest.
I was going to say, yeah, they're characterizing it with the convoy situation that we
Exactly.
saw with the truckers.
Swept through Canada in 2022 to oppose vaccine mandates. What brought them back together in the Valley of the Ostriches was a trailing fury over government intrusion and suspicion about the aims of public health. You don't say.
Why is this lady crying?
Here's a paragraph about her setting up like a media center in her living room, trying to do the whole thing. Meanwhile, Dave and Karen brought their case to court and won a stay of execution for the birds until they finished their appeal. As winter turned to spring, the conflict reached a stalemate. The CFIA announced that no more inspectors would be coming to the farm because of the risk of infection by the bird. No birds were sick at this point, by the way. The birds that were sick had died. There were no sick birds. And so the Canadian government, who they showed up the first time in hazmat suits and, did the whole thing, they were too scared to come test the live birds. Let's see here. Because of the risk of infection by the birds and of interference by protesters.
So they're going to get infected with bird flu or get interfered by protesters.
That's right. Its staffers were getting threats by phone. And
no.
Then one night at the end of March, someone showed up with a gun. That's just the sentence, right?
Yeah,
then one night at the end of March, someone showed up with a gun. It's pure the Atlantic, right?
The Atlantic has never held a gun.
This ominous
ever,
someone showed up with a gun. And even better when you hear what actually happened. The birds were sleeping in their pens.
I don't like
some
this.
with upright necks in the ostrich way. In the hours before sunrise, Katie and the farmer said one was shot just below the ear. Dave and Karen found the carcass in the morning, lying in a pool of blood. The assassinated bird was Sarah, the one from Katie's Facebook post. Someone showed up with a gun and assassinated.
Charlie Kirked Sarah.
Someone
Was it a
killed
woke?
Sarah.
Was it a trans?
Well,
Was it a
that's
woke
the
trans?
question, huh? And it gets even crazier. After Sarah's
Even
death,
crazier.
a deeper sense of dread took over the valley. Okay, somebody showed up and assassinated one of the ostriches, right?
Yeah.
Remember, they just talked about how they're the freedom convoy. They're the bad people. They're the anti-vaccine folks. They're showing up. They're helping out. Then someone shot an ostrich, and we'll get into their ideas about that in a second. After Sarah's death, a deeper sense of dread overtook the valley. The farm began to fortify. Trip lines were laid around the ostrich pens, hooked up to bear bangers to scare away intruders. These are trip lines that make a loud noise when you step on them. Supporters equipped themselves with walkie-talkies, and Dave and Karen started sleeping in the ostrich pens. Katie's interviews and Facebook streams grew more conspiratorial. You mean after somebody showed up and assassinated a bird?
They just killed the bird. They killed the main bird, and then they got a little freaked out, and all of a sudden they're being
Conspiratorial.
blamed of being more conspiratorial.
There's
Please,
obviously a conspiracy here. A bird was
obviously.
assassinated in the middle of the night.
Okay.
The supporters had been seeing government drones flying
Huh?
overhead at night.
I don't like where this is headed.
She told the podcast host in May, Karen too was obsessing over hidden plots. The farm's website.
It was a hidden. They told them. Okay, sorry. All right.
There was a hidden plot. The farm's website had malfunctioned in December out of nowhere, even though she was sure she had set up the domain to auto renew. Yeah,
Okay.
That's a
all
good
right, that can
question,
happen.
but
Yeah.
you never know. Could it have been a government associated hack? Could all of this have been a plan to stop her antibody business, to squish our science, as she later put it to me? Could it be that certain institutions were trying to hide the fact that H5N1 bird flu wasn't really all that dangerous? Yeah. Could it have been the Atlantic? Did we go into this? 2 months after
They
the
all sound
shooting,
like conspiracy thought to me. I don't know, man. We're not getting Fauci to approve any of this.
Big Pharma would never do any of this. 2 months after the shooting, a second bird was murdered in its pen. Karen said she heard a drone flying overhead between 1 and 2 a.m. And then she saw an army-sized device flying overhead as big as the hood of a vehicle. Some folks from the encampment said they saw it too, while sitting by the fire. There was a silent flash of light, and moments later, Karen found one of the biggest roosters on the farm, an ostrich called Joey, with a hole through its head. This time,
my gosh.
the wound was vertical, starting near the crown and ending 18 inches down the neck. The
My
drone
gosh.
may have been equipped with a gun, Karen told me, maybe a silencer too. Dave wondered if it might have been a laser.
Drone strikes have saved lives.
Can we shoot them down if over our property?
Drones.
A car hood-sized drone flies over the farm, a silent flash of light, and then a vertical bullet wound in the ostrich's head. Do you wonder why maybe she's a little conspiratorial?
The Atlantic is like these crazy people and their conspiracies. What is wrong with the Atlantic?
Incredible. It's really incredible. Now, just a quick note, because they mentioned Robert F. Kennedy. Quote, I support you 100%, Kennedy responded. I'm horrified by the idea that they're going to kill these animals. The cause was a natural fit for Kennedy. The anti-vaccine organization that he once chaired, Children's Health Defense, had already aired an interview with Katie on its video channel in March, and Kennedy himself has often railed against government overreach in efforts to control potential outbreaks. Earlier that spring, Kennedy had declared that the U.S. and Canada's policy of stamping out H5N1 infected chickens should be stopped. The survivors, the ones with naturally acquired immunity, could be used to populate poultry farms with hardier stock. Yeah, repopulate. Hardier stock, he said. Experts, guns. The experts warn about the dangers of letting the virus spread unchecked. Vaccinating poultry makes a lot more sense. 2 bird flu scientists told me. Okay. Unnamed.
In parentheses, that whole sentence was in a parenthetical. So.
Parenthetical, unnamed bird flu scientists told The Atlantic that vaccinating
Andrew Borla and
all 8 billion chickens. But that's the point. Again, she doesn't even realize, the author doesn't even realize what she's saying here. She's saying the experts, the pharma companies, the bird flu scientists say it makes much more sense to vaccinate 8 billion chickens, each with their own vial of vaccination, than to breed a stock of poultry who are resistant against the illness. It is the vaccine versus natural immunity conversation, saying it makes more sense to spend billions of dollars on manufactured vaccines to save the poultry rather than to do what human beings have been doing for thousands and thousands of years, which is animal husbandry to make hardier stock resistant to disease. There's entire biomedical fields. Monsanto has
it takes too long. So much faster with the jabbity jab.
They found a way, to monetize the hardier stock thing with Monsanto, but with animals, it's better. You don't need to create some new animal or breed a hardier stock. You just got to purchase a vaccine for each and every one of them. Okay. So we're going to kind of come towards the end. Here is a little note here. Katie's Save the Ostriches campaign had until this point attracted hippies.
Sorry to interrupt. You skipped the part I think that you wanted to mention. Kennedy also seemed to have an affinity for large flightless birds.
Thank you.
He has kept at least one emu as a pet on his property in California.
He's an emu man.
There you go. I think
That's
you
right.
and Bobby need to have a emu talk.
That's
emu
what I'm
pod.
saying.
Yeah.
Big bird people will save the world.
I love ostriches. Continue.
Me and Robert F. Kennedy have at least one thing in common, and that is a love of giant flightless birds. Katie's Save the Ostriches campaign had until this point attracted hippies, libertarian, and anti-vaxxers, as well as local politicians in her province. Now it had the U.S. government. Booyah. Now, the writer then takes a huge aside to tell a story about how they visited the farm and how everybody was a crazy libertarian and how there was mud and ostriches on the farm and it was so scary.
Yeah. Has this person ever been to a farm?
No.
It sounds like they're in like some ivory tower and they're like, ugh, ground. I must step on dirt. Ew.
Yes. The things, she's trying to make this point of like, it's so dirty and dangerous and everybody's going to get sick and die.
Farm. You're at a
there was
farm.
mud on the ground.
There was mud on the ground.
There was ostriches near people. There's deadly conditions.
I don't want bird flu.
And goes into just here's one sentence to kind of give an example of how she felt about the people there at the farm. Her connections with right-wing and extremist figures were expanding. She told me that she would soon be headed to a truth movement conference down in West Palm Beach, where she would share a stage with several noted anti-vaxxers, as well as Enrique Tarrio, the former Proud Boys leader. And she let me scroll through a run of texts she'd received in recent weeks from Mehmet Oz, who, like Kennedy, had gotten drawn into her cause by Katzimatitis. I don't know who that is. Oz, the celebrity doctor who is currently the head of the U.S. Centers for Medical and Medicaid Services, had suggested that he could bring the ostriches to Florida, but that wasn't possible on account of the cull order. Quote, I have spread the word widely and cannot understand why they cannot let me take these beautiful birds, he wrote to Katie in one message. Oz did not respond to a request for comment. Again and again. So it's being presented as crazy right-wing extremists just don't like the government and not instead the reality of it, which she tried very hard not to tell the truth about, that there was some very serious possibility that this farm, this ostrich farm itself, was not the first to discover that there's very serious possibilities that ostriches in general, both with they've got a crazy immune system. That's like kind of part of their thing. They have this inhuman boosted immune system that then gets passed on to its eggs and then not experimentally, provenly in the industry in Japan by the scientists can be used to replace a lot of the big pharma stranglehold on everybody. But no, all you gotta do, like everything else, it's the Atlantic, call them right-wing extremists and nothing else matters. Again and again, the farmers said the Canadian government's response to their outbreak made no sense. Plainly, they were right in some particulars. Oh, thank you. Plainly, they were right in some particulars. Why couldn't the CFAI just test the birds again to see if the virus was still present? The government had claimed that this was impossible, that its inspectors would have no way to gather swabs from several hundred dangerous animals that can run at the speed of a moped without handling facilities of any kind on site. But I'd heard otherwise from independent experts. Adrienne Oliver. Notice how she can actually name the experts who can tell her positive things about the situation and about the ostriches, but she doesn't name any experts who tell her the government's position. Adrienne Oliver, an ostrich industry veterinarian in South Africa, told me that high volume testing could be done. South Africa has been dealing with bird flu outbreaks on ostrich farms for years, she said, and could manage the screening of even several hundred adults in one day. Then again, I could also see, really anyone could see, again, this nice, like, okay, here's some things that are true that whatever the right-wing extremists think. But then again, how I see it and how every sane person should see it, that Dave and Karen had been flouting basic rules of biosafety on the farm. At first, they hadn't told the government that their birds were sick and their quarantine was barely that. The same farm dogs that nosed around at my feet inside the kitchen were also running in and out of the ostrich pens. After Dave and Karen fed the birds, they sprayed each other down with disinfectant, but they didn't change their clothes or remove their shoes. And the volunteers were clearly handling eggs and feathers. Her retort to this, when she says, oh, I see what the government sees, and everybody who's sane should agree with me, that we should punish these ostriches for deeds of the past. They didn't tell us. Who cares if they may hold the secret of defending humanity against horrible diseases and other birds?
She's starting to sound really desperate here. It's desperate for any kind of.
It's punitive. Even in her own explanation, it comes off as punitive, where she wants to punish right-wingers for not doing things the way she would have had them done.
Yeah.
I mean, and the volunteers were clearly handling eggs and feathers. Well, yeah, that's what you do in an ostrich farm. You handle eggs and feathers. Now, they told a couple stories. I didn't highlight them because she then spends maybe...
This is like a 35-minute read, by the way. I still have the time to read. It's a long read.
They tell some crazy stories about supporters who had come. Again, these supporters are not necessarily vetted. These are people who come to help out. They show up. They say, can I help out? They told a story earlier where a quote-unquote supporter went to the neighbor's house. The neighbor was suspected of having called the government. They never found out, even in this article. She claims she didn't, but the neighbor apparently, as of the writing of The Atlantic, was suspected of being the one who called the government. Then random people who showed up at the farm to help out, perhaps people who want to make the right look crazy, the agitators, the violent people, did some pretty crazy things, like spread gasoline and try to light the neighbor's house on fire for some reason, threatened to shoot people for, renting equipment to the cops, sneaking around at night to blah, blah, blah. And, as they're telling these stories, look, I'm not saying every single person who would go to defend this ostrich farm is a good person necessarily, but it just makes no sense. It sounds very much like, some malcontents at J6. It sounds very much like what they saw at the Freedom Convoy too. Random people. It's like when you see the Nazi flag the guy who shows up with the Nazi flag, with the flag that obviously was just unfolded out of the package, who gets kicked out. I know they dealt with that. So, I don't know. We're taking a lot of time, so I don't necessarily want to have to break down every single one of these things. And again, they're telling the story of these allegedly violent far-right extremists in a way that should make you feel good about destroying scientifically viable birds. Even if there was a crazy right-wing extremist who wanted to set the neighbor's house on fire, which I don't necessarily believe, I'll just say it. That's not an excuse for what's happening. It's kind of like during the Charlie Kirk thing, when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and even just normies that I knew, not even crazy leftists, just normies were like, well, this headline says that he hated black people. And it's like, okay, first of all, he didn't, it doesn't, okay, he didn't hate black, okay, but it doesn't matter though. Even if he did hate black people, you don't blow his brains out in public. That is not something that we accept. But the public, especially those who would be writing the Atlantic, are so trained and so sort of programmed to have something like that be justifiable to any offense, right? Yeah, murder all the birds on behalf of big pharma and the vaccine industry and the Ozempic industry because there were some bad people there. Okay, we see where you're coming from. By the next morning, I'm going all the way down. We'll land the plane here. By the next morning, the cull was over. All of the ostriches, 314 of them by the government's final count, were dead. It was gray and it was cold in the valley. Autumn had returned, one full cycle of the seasons from the day Dave and Karen's birds first began to falter in the slush. Waves of wild ducks were passing overhead once more. Since the start of the fall, the bird flu virus has again been spilling over into poultry flocks in North America. It's too bad you don't have those ostrich eggs. Another 8 million birds have been killed on U.S. farms in recent months, and 3 million more in Canada. While construction vehicles shoveled up the ostrich carcasses and dumped them into trucks, the farm's supporters gathered for a vigil, in person and online. It had been 297 days, they claimed, since any of the birds were sick. Whether this was true no longer mattered. The outbreak on the Universal Ostrich Farm had reached its end. Yet, even now, no one could agree about the nature of the threat. Had the poultry been a risk to public health? What about the farmers, who never thought the rules applied to them? Again, there you go. Was there actually a public health threat? Well, what about the farmers who were mean? And what about the government, which chose annihilation over compromise? Any middle ground was now awash with blood. Some kind of danger had been present in those pens. That was clear enough. Now that danger is stamped out.
This is written by a guy. Daniel.
Yeah, it was a guy who wrote it.
Okay, I thought it was a lady the whole time.
There's a bunch more in there. And for anybody who wants even more rabbit holes, go to our show notes, check out this article by The Atlantic. We have the archived version in case they put it behind a paywall for you. But, this was sort of, I think, an epic, insofar as it happened live, unsung sort of tale. And because the mainstream and the government and anybody who touched it was able to paint this right-wing extremist picture, to perhaps whatever, if they were, I believe they were infiltrated by ne'er-do-wells, whatever, the ostriches being assassinated in the night, one by a drone. This was like some crazy secret war. And to think that Big Pharma would not have an interest in culling this herd, or to think that the government is not hand in hand taking instructions, if not just simple guidance from big pharma as to what to do about something like this, you are totally, absolutely naive. And I know y'all aren't listening to me, but it's amazing to me how little of this story was being told at the time. And I do believe that if the mainstream were to have touched this in the past year, that this could have been a significantly bigger, more public deal. And I think could have really struck some significant blows to the control mechanisms. But yet we were just absolutely overwhelmed by the day-to-day madness that has been splashed in our eyeballs in every direction. But I think this ostrich thing, I'm just totally consumed by which it touches almost every single important, huge meta narrative going on right now. I mean, there has to be a movie made about this. It's if they're not already in production, there is something seriously wrong with the world.
Hey, I'll play an ostrich.
You can play an ostrich. That's true. Maybe we should do it. Maybe this is our calling.
I think we need to do a kick. What is it called? A Kickstarter? Do they still have those? Some kind of
yeah, they do. They do have Kickstarter.
Thing. Some crowdfunding.
Save the ostriches, man. Look, when I first
justice for the ostrich.
Justice for the ostriches. When I first got my emus, I actually had plans to get ostriches, but somebody told me like, hey, you can get some ostriches. I'd start with some emus. Okay. Emus, your nice starter killer bird. They're only 6 feet tall instead of 8 feet tall. But I don't know. I think I might be on Team Ostrich now. Like maybe I can hook up with the Japanese and see if I can print out using God's beautiful biological printer, the ostrich, print out some pharmaceutical revolutions here.
Yeah, well, don't get caught up in the crossfires there. I don't need drones hovering over Basil's residence and
get some
laser beaming some emu heads.
Technology. Yeah.
Forget the tripwires. You need an iron dome, buddy. That's where the government contracts can really become helpful.
The Golden Dome.
The Golden Dome. The Ostrich Dome. Yep.
That's all I got. I see what are we at? We're at 3:30 here. You got anything else you want to? We have some producers tonight.
I think we need to thank some producers.
Let's do that. Let's thank some producers. Let's start by knighting some producers. Because here's the thing, folks. We are on the value for value model, which means we don't take any money from corporations, commies, cartels, platform partnerships, brand sponsorships. None of that. None of that beast system stuff that wraps up the I guess the reward for those who are participating in the harvesting of your attention, the harvesting of your time, the harvesting of your opinions, the trust that we all put in our favorite podcasters being rented out by corporations or governments, cartels, whoever, who wish to monetize and affect that attention, that trust. Instead, we're on the value for value model, which is very simple. We get to say whatever we want, when we want to say it, and it's only thanks to our producers who come in with their time, their talent, or their treasure. It's very simple. If you get any value out of what we do, if you have gotten any value, if you plan to get any value, you got to become a producer. You got to put that value back in. It's simply just logical. It's the only way we can continue. Someday we may not continue, but today is not that day because we have producers coming in with their time, their talent, their treasure. If you want to help us out with anything, if you've got skills, if you've got time, we've got endless amounts of things to help build the community, strengthen the community, make more value available to our producers and our listeners. If you're talented in art or music or graphic design or whatever, you can create something for the show. Go to canarycry.com art to upload it. You'll see our little upload form there. That's the way to get it to us. Love to feature it on the show. Almost everything you see or hear on the show is created by producers just like you. So a great way to immortalize your talents forever for everyone. Or if time and talent isn't what you got, you can come in with your treasure. Whatever it is that God has equipped you with to participate in what he's doing on earth, that's what you can come in and do. And for those who produce with their treasure, you can go to canarycry.support, and we're going to thank some producers here in a moment, but I say we should do the knightings first. And if you don't know, let me tell you, if you produce the show with your treasure, and this can happen all at once, or it can take many years if you sign up for a monthly producership. We have wonderful monthly producers who keep us alive, give us an opportunity to look 30 days ahead and go, you know what? I think we can do it another month. But when the sum total of your support reaches $1,000 or more, we like to honor you with a seat at the Canary Cry round table of knights and dames. If you're new and you hear us talk about, Sir Marty or Sir Darren or Dame Lady Knight Little Wing or any of these types of people, Dame Sarah, these are people who are at the Canary Cry round table of knights and dames, and you can too when you support the show for $1,000 or more. Some people do this all at once. Some people do it over time. Whatever it is, we love it. We're so very grateful. And we got a couple people today, Gons. Apologies. It took us a few episodes to get to us. But we've got the wonderful Trevor G and Christian N who are to be knighted today. Let me see here. I'm going to see. Let me just double check. I think I read Trevor. Where are you, Trevor? I think I read their notes previously. Oh,
Trevor G and Christian N. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Christian N, I believe, is one of our Norwegian producers. Here we go. Okay, dear Basil and Gons, I finally got around to collect all my donations from over the years. I've been listening right from the start. My support history took me a while to collect, and I have, as you can see, finally reached eligibility for knighthood. Yay! You guys are by far my favorite podcast, and I never miss a show. Greetings from Norway. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Christian N. And Trevor G, oopsies, let's see if I can spell it right. There it is. Says he came in as an executive producer a couple episodes ago. Says, I appreciate all you guys do for the Lord with this amount, the other one-time gifts, and being on the T-shirt council. This should get me to knighthood. I would like to be known as, then he gives me his name, which we will name him right now. All right, Gons, I'm ready when you are.
Okay, let me get over here. Let me get
okay.
Round the table.
That's very good. Okay, I have mine somewhere around here. My office is a little messy. Here we go. Okay. All right. We want to call up Trevor G and Christian N. Please step forward to the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, where we have a seat for you. Thanks to your generous support in the amount of $1,000 or more, we are proud to pronounce you Sir Trevor G, Knight of the Twisted Pines, and Sir Pure Villacus, the Magyar Viking of the banks of the Dravis River, Knight of the Squirrel Dogs in the frozen lands of the north. Please join us at the Canary Cry Roundtable, where we have the belt of truthful truthiness, breastplate of righteousness, custom fit Birkenstocks that carry forth the gospel of peace, the shield of ferocious faith, the helmet of substantiating salvation, and the supernatural sword of the spirit, and of course, the adorable samurai babies, infinitely cute kitties for cuddling. If you're hungry, we have fancy feast, wet food, carved Cosmo, the crisper cow, and of course, fried wormicorns. Welcome to the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, Sir Trevor G, Knight of the Twisted Pines, and Sir Pyrovilicus, the Magyar Viking of the banks of the Dravis River, Knight of the Squirrel Dogs in the frozen land of the north. I think Woo, it's like a roller coaster. Sir Pure Villicus has maybe taken the trophy as the longest night name on the roundtable. But you can go to canarycrynewstalk.com/roundtable to see a complete list of our knights and dames and the episode on which they were knighted or damed. Thank you very much, Sir Trevor G and Sir Pure Villicus. We really appreciate your support over such a long time. You guys have been producing for so long, and it really warms our hearts, and we're happy to honor you in the Canarium.
I'm trying to find. Oh, here they are. Okay, I need to update the website. I usually like to do this live.
Yes,
I don't forget it.
You got their names. I put them down in our document.
Yep, I see it.
There
Wow,
you go.
that is a long night name. It's like 2 sentences.
It's true. There have been some other two. Technically, Sir Tinfoil Hatman, I believe, has an extremely long name as well, if I remember. Maybe I need to bring up canarycrynewstalk.com/
It's right here. Let's see. Well, who'd you say, Sir?
No, you keep focusing on getting that in. I'll go
All
over
right.
here. I'll do it. You stay focused. Let me see. We have let's see, Sir Jimmy M, Knight of the Slinging Paint Brush and Sprayer Thingy. That's pretty normal. Dame Jennifer, Lady B of the Garden, walking closely to the Lord under the shadow of his wing from 334. That's a pretty long one. That's good. Sir Runksmash, Knight in 250 characters or less, Defender of the Semicolons and Champion of the Comma. That one's pretty good. Dame Epony Blaze cares for twins, cats, birds, and blooms for the Most High God. That's a good one. Oh, yes, of course, Sir James, Knight and Servant of the Lion of Judah, Defender of the Destitute and the Helpless. Very honorable. Here's Sir Ike, the Tinfoil Hat Man, Six-String Strummer of the East Ozark Highlands and Keeper of the Honking Cobra Chicken. That's a nice long one, too. See, folks, we don't actually put any limits on these things. These limits are agreed upon, much like a constitution. You know, the Constitution is not, as our forefathers said, written with ink on paper, but it is written on the hearts of everyone who constitutes the great society that they're in. And according to the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, written on the constitution of their heart, is their knight or dame name can be as long as the good Lord wants it to be.
Refresh the page. Let's see if those names.
Refresh, scrolling. There they are. Sir Pure Villicus. There we go. Beautiful. Thank you very much to our two new knights, Sir Trevor and Sir Pure Villicus. And, we have some other producers to thank for keeping us alive on this here episode. Got a couple executive producers coming in. And for those who don't know, the executive producers come in, support any individual episode like this with $100 or more, which is why we honor them with an executive producership. This is a real title. You can put this on your business card, put it on your IMDb, whatever you want to do. We have, of course, executive producer Sir Alex Protocol, V2, Baron of the Breen Protocol.
Sir LX.
Baron. Illuminatus!
Right, comes in for $100 and 33 cents. He's on a 441 episode streak and a 95 episode executive producer streak. We have executive producer Sir Jamie, not the Lannister.
Sir Jamie, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir Jamie. Let's
Appreciate
see
you.
Not the Sir, not
Sir Jamie's sporting Canary Cry swag on stage too, which is
pretty
awesome.
Yeah, he's
Love
one
that.
of our greatest human billboards. Thank you very much, Sir Jamie. Okay, that's it for the execs. Let's see here. Not a whole lot. Well, let me say 0 actually. One-time producerships under the executive producer mount. However, we have some very wise and very smart producers who have signed up before the deadline for the Canary Cry supply drop.
Smart people.
If you've ever thought about joining the supply drop, maybe if you've been on it before and maybe it works, maybe you can get back on it again if that's where the Lord has you. I would recommend doing it in the next 7 days, okay? The deadline is midnight, November 30th. Once that rolls into December, the cutoff is already gone. You're going to miss your chance.
You got till Sunday. You basically have this week to get it done.
You got till Sunday, so don't wait. But the Canary Cry Supply Drop, one of the most beloved producer programs here for Canary Cry News Talk. It is a monthly producership. You can go to canarycrysupplydrop.com, sign up for a monthly producership there. And what happens is not only are you credited with keeping your favorite podcast alive, the best podcast in the metaverse, and participating in whatever it is God is doing here. But every quarter, once a quarter, so every few months, we send you a package, chock-a-block, filled with Canary Cry gear. Sometimes it's apparel, sometimes it's accessories, sometimes it's survival equipment. The fourth quarter supply drop is always our favorite, mainly because it comes with the Canary Cry calendar. The Canary Cry calendar is an absolutely beloved Canary Cry treasure that is put together by a whole host of Canary Cry producers working together for many, many months to put it together. It's a real physical calendar, which, look, it's pretty retro. What are you going to do? Nobody has physical calendars anymore because nobody has physical calendars as fun and as cool as the Canary Cry calendar. You open it up, you see tons of art created by Canary Cry artists, some of the greats, always bring in some of their best work. The art is usually filled with all sorts of Easter eggs and fun references to inside jokes and news stories throughout the year. The calendar pages are filled with sometimes hilarious, sometimes very important, sometimes biblical anniversaries, days in history. Again, more inside jokes for the show, for those long timers. I mean, it's like every month has what, like 20 of these amazing dates on it, Gons?
It's surprising when there's a day without information. Like today, there's nothing for today.
It is unusual to pick a day that doesn't have anything. But Gons, you are at the end of the show. I always ask you, do you have any last words? And every single time you read from whatever is going to happen on the Canary Cry calendar between now and the next episode. So they keep coming. And it includes the biblical feasts for those who, want to be reminded when the biblical feasts are throughout the year. It's just incredible. I really hope you guys like it. This fourth quarter one, you'll get the Canary Cry calendar, but you will also get a half gold back. If you have not heard our episode with Jeremy Corden, we're having some technical difficulties on some of the feeds, but we got the video up on it's on the News Talk channel, right?
Yes, it's published on News Talk, but
we got it on News Talk. It's up on the RSS feed. The Canary Cry Radio RSS feed is a little wonky now, but go listen to it if you haven't listened to it. And I make the comment, I can't remember if it was this one or the next episode or interview we have coming out, where it's like, traditionally over the years, people have come to Canary Cry for just like the wildest, most unspoken fringe sort of interviews. And as we've grown older, Gons, we have tended to bring on, again, equally as unknown interview topics, but ones that are so practical. And if the beast system, if the economy, if CBDCs, if gold, if crypto, if any of that is something, you don't even have to be super interested in it. But if you're just aware that it's something going on in the world, you're going to want to listen to our episode with Jeremy Corden. We also have another great episode coming out soon. He's the CEO of goldback.com, who has created this technology to make physical, tangible gold a negotiation instrument, basically cash, but with real gold. It's super affordable. There's thousands of companies in the country that you can actually walk in and spend this real gold. You don't have to spend it. It saves, it stacks just like any other gold instrument if you're trying to invest in small amounts of gold. And trust me, I've tried to invest in small amounts of gold, right? I don't have like thousands of dollars to drop on like getting some gold bars or whatever. Even small gold bars are expensive. But these gold back bills, real pure gold, come in really reasonable denominations. So go check it out. Listen to that. But those who are signed up before November 30th, you'll be getting your own very first half gold back that will start you on your journey. Big apologies to our international producers on the supply drop. We wish we could. We can't send the gold overseas, but we promise we'll make it up to you somehow. But we've had a whole slew of people recognize the opportunity for this, Gons, because let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We had 6 Canary Cry supply droppers sign up since last episode, which is absolutely a record. So I'm going to list them and thank them. We're starting off with supply dropper Ricky B. Thank you very much,
Ricky B. Thank you.
We have Marty Not Sir K coming in.
Marty Not Sir K. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marty Not Sir K. Kona H comes in, joins the supply drop.
Kona H. How do you spell that? Is it a K or C?
Just Kona with a K.
Kona. Okay.
Let's see here. We have Sir Darren comes in, signs back up. Thank you, Sir Darren.
Darren coming in.
Benjamin signs up. Thank you very much, Benjamin. Getting the supply drop.
Not
Carol,
Netanyahu.
Not Netanyahu, as far as I can tell. Let's see here. Cheryl E signs up. Thank you very much,
Cheryl E. Thank you very much.
And Brandon W. Thank you very much,
Brandon W.
Coming in.
I wonder if that's the same Brandon W.
No,
that
I made a mistake. Cheryl E did not sign up for the supply drop. I believe she is on the supply drop, but Cheryl E signed up for the Canary Cry T-shirt Council.
Ah, there we go.
There
Doubling
you go.
up. Love it.
Doubling up. Cheryl E, thank you very much. And hey, look, if the supply drop, if that's not in your budget or that doesn't interest you, that's okay. You can go to canarycryt-shirtcouncil.com, sign up there, and it's very similar program, except for you get to vote on the t-shirt for the quarter, and we send you a Canary Cry t-shirt. Very exclusive, very cool. And if it weren't for the wisdom and the knowledge of the Canary Cry T-shirt Council, we could never figure out what to make. So thank you very much, Cheryl E.
Yep.
Other than that, Cage Rattler Coffee supports the show. Thank you very much, Cage Rattler Coffee. And in case you missed it, go to cagerattlercoffee.com. This is coffee, small batch coffee from all over the world, roasted specifically for Canarians, by Canarians, made available to Canarians, and a portion of every sale comes to support the show. It's nice. And some announcements for cagerattlercoffee.com. They have started the Coffee of the Month Club, so you can sign up for a recurring subscription to the Coffee of the Month Club. We highly recommend that. And Cage Rattler Coffee is running a little Thanksgiving special up until November 30th as well, where you can get 10% off. Just use the coupon code THANKS, THANKS. And highly recommend it, folks. Get on over there to cagerattlercoffee.com. I have it every day. It is beloved, delicious, and even more than anything, it is a fist in the air against not only the beast system, but the coffee companies, the big corporations that hate you and sell you moldy coffee and put money into lobbying for the ill of all of us. So make sure that when you're participating in the economy, we are participating in the parallel economy as much as we can. And you can learn more about that while holding your half gold back from the supply drop and start the revolution, folks. Go do it. And it is not infrequently, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but it's not infrequently that the Cage Rattler Coffee makes some coffee available to the supply droppers as well. Often they get a nice little taster of what's to come. at ktraddlercoffee.com. All right. I think we had a piece of music that got sent in about a week ago or so, maybe even more, Gons, that we had not gotten the chance to play. Is that right?
Yeah, that is correct. Although I failed to prepare properly.
You failed to prepare.
Proper preparation.
Well, while you do that, I will give a shout out to everybody who joined the Canary Cry text message alert system. Highly recommend you do that. We can see it with our eyes. The algorithms have since been changed again, moved away from letting our beloved people know when we go live. So don't rely on the algorithms or the notifications from the big tech platforms, because they actually don't want you to catch the show. Instead, join the Canary Cry text message alert system, where we can text you directly and let you know we're starting the show. It's very easy. All you got to do is text the word canary to 877-740-3226. Again, just text the word canary to 877-740-3226, and you'll get put on the list. People have told me, I gotta say, you don't get put on.
You gotta start. Yeah, the list makes it sound like we're part of
not making a list. There's no
government list or something.
But you will
targeted
receive a text message from me. I write them, I send them, so every time you get one, you can know it's from me. And the fun part is you can actually text us back at that number. You can send us questions and stuff. I can't carry on a conversation with you via text because it's very expensive, but I do like to read them here. 509 just texted, says, great to watch and listen. Thanks. Listening to Ostrich story. Now we understand why the dodo went extinct. That's right. Who knows where the world could be if the dodos were still around. Let's see here. Oh, look at this. This is Ben L. Ben L 406. He's part of the Canary Cry tech team, I believe. He says, I've just ordered the last parts needed for Gonza's PC. Should have it to him by his birthday at the latest.
What?
Okay, that's great news, Benjamin L. Because yes, Gonz is fighting technical battles that I don't even know. It's like only my parents fight similar battles with computers that Gonz does.
What year is your car made in, Basil? Just curiosity.
My car, 2010, I think.
Okay, all right.
Yes, but so is your computer. Your computer was 2013. It is unheard of that. Now
No, it's not. We've upgraded a little bit since then.
Yeah, well, we were able to get an upgraded one a while back, but it's not quite of the we can only afford what we can afford. But anyways, you're gonna get on the PC train. Ben L's got you. Thank you very much, Ben L. God bless.
Thank you, Ben L. That is amazing. I do want to mention. Once we finish, there is a piece of art, and I got the jingles.
Okay,
and stuff.
yeah. Let me give a shout out to a couple more people here. 856 texted Colossians 3:23 and 24. Whatever you do, work heartily, as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. Amen. Thank you. 856.
Amen.
Yeah.
Don't let the CEO of WorldCoin get a hold of those passages, because they will twist that thing straight to hell. To be honest with you, they'll be like, always keep working for the orb.
That's true. So. Marty Not Sir K, who produced the show, also produced Thursday's Canary Cry Clubhouse. Thank you very much. Says, just upgraded my producership to the Canary Cry Supply Drop, baby. And my listener challenge stands. Join me in saying thank you and demonstrate our appreciation for the guys and their ministries, and do a little something extra in support. Let's make end of year 2025 the best ever for the guys, and support the show by producing in whatever capacity you may be gifted and able. God loves cheerful givers. Thanks, Canary and family. I'm so very blessed by this community, and I pray extra blessings on each one. And mentioned can't be on the live show today. That's okay, Marty. Marty, not Sir K. But regarding possible 707 meetup, I think this was Thursday we talked about it. It's Humboldt County, California. I remember the Lufenholtz Beach meetup when I was living in Texas. Shout out to my Texas meetup peeps. Let's do a Lost Coast Behind the Redwood Curtain meetup. Email me at Marty, that's Marty with an I, MARTI, not Sir K, the letter K, at gmail.com. Thank you and have a blessed day, blessed Monday, Canarians. There you go. If you're in Northern California, Humboldt County area, you want to do a meetup, email Marty with an I, not Sir K, at gmail.com. Let's get together. Thank you very much, Marty, for everything you do.
Thank you. Hey, Basil, the Monday I was gone, did you do the art from Dame Sarah?
Let me look at it. Dame Sarah. Yeah, I did.
You
The
did.
beaver one?
The beaver, yeah.
Yes, I did.
The beavers and the Masonic symbol and stuff. Okay, just want to make sure we're up to speed on all of that. Yeah, canarycry.art. You can send in your art. We got a couple jingles to play or music pieces to play. But before we do, I want to share this beautiful piece here by Eden. And we got a note here. Hey guys, my daughter Eden drew this for y'all. December is her birthday month. Happy birthday. Excited for her to turn 11. She's incredibly talented, and I'm so proud of her for always wanting to share her gifts. Hope you like it, and God bless. Jessica P. So thank you very much, Jessica P. Thank you, Eden, for this tremendous artwork of
this is great.
Yeah,
this is very fun. So we've got a top-down picture here. We've got a green lizard on the left, a gray lizard on the right. The green lizard is Gons. The gray lizard is Basil. The lizards are wearing pink T-shirts that both say "Canary Cry." What is this?
Get now.
Get now. Get now. Yes, Canary Cry. Get now. And the Gons lizard is saying Basil, and the Basil lizard saying Gons. And it looks like we're looking at a hat. There's a baseball cap up here. Oh, it says it's the Canary Cry baseball cap that went out in the supply drop a while ago. We've been turned into lizards, Gons. What a holiday gift we've been given. Thank you very much.
Eden has called us out. We are just lizards pretending to be podcasters.
I like how it's not lizard people necessarily, but they are lizards wearing T-shirts, Canary Cry T-shirts. Well, that's wonderful. Happy soon-to-be birthday, Eden, and hopefully you guys can send us another message when we get closer to your birthday. We'd love to.
Yep. Thank you for that.
More.
Okay, we have a couple pieces here. This one is from Jonathan F. Jonathan F. did not leave a note with this. It's titled Protest Jingle. So let's see what this is here.
You started the right time. Protesting is not enough. Are you protesting the authenticity of his code?
Ooh, that's good.
I like it. Yeah.
Make sure that's labeled. Make sure that's labeled correctly.
Microphone's cutting out. Yes, that's a good one for the protest. We got to keep that in mind. We also got something from Sir Marty B. Kick out the Jams brothers and sisters. Spelled jams with interesting spelling there. Here it is. Savior on a white horse. Oh my gosh, my microphone is bugging out. Is it going to play? I hit the play button.
The way I need a savior on a white horse, the one who's gonna set things straight.
I love the beat. Let's play the whole thing at the end.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. That's very catchy. We'll play the whole thing after the show here for the Canary Cry mixtape. Thank you very much. Love having some non-AI music. Look, AI music's getting pretty good, but we've talked about how sad it is that the readiness of not unquality AI music can be kind of dejecting for the real musicians out there. Sir Marty B, the man who's been doing it for a very long time. Some of our best tracks have come from Sir Marty K. I'm sorry, Sir Marty B, Night of the Bass.
So
Can't wait to hear it at the end of the show. Thank you, Sir
Yep,
Marty.
thank you for that, Sir Marty B. And we also have something here from Jones. It's labeled in Japanese here. It says Basil 888. Kinto.
Daddy's home.
I think I played this one back on, back on the episode that you weren't on. But yes, is the Daddy's home.
Okay,
Thank you very much,
There you
Jones.
go. Thank you to everybody who sent in stuff. We appreciate it. It was good to have some art, some producers coming in with their art. We appreciate you.
Amen.
Your talent is beautiful. It's a
Yep.
God-given
So
gift.
create whatever you can create, whatever way that God has given you to put value into something, into anything. That's what keeps us alive here. We love it. Again, you can go to canarycry.support to learn more, or Canary Cry Art to upload your art. Or if you want to jump in, help us out with something, to give of your time, or if you have some skills that we certainly could use, which are pretty much all skills, you can email us at canarycryradio@gmail.com. All right. Anything else you want to do or say today, Gonzo?
I think that about does it.
I think that about it. 3 hours. So we did 3 hours. Look at that.
Why is Manhattan Project trending? Let's check real quick. Let's just make sure it's nothing crazy here. Let's see. Ooh. This is always fun. Let's see. This is you know how it goes. This is coming from Disclose. Ooh, it's gone now. How is it gone? Hold on. Let me try that again. Oh, I know why. All right, here we go. Let's see. This is according to disclose.tv. Just in, Trump signs Genesis mission executive order to build an integrated AI platform with access to federal scientific data sets to dramatically accelerate AI development, quote, comparable in urgency and ambition to the Manhattan Project that developed the nuclear weapons.
Great. That's what we need.
Genesis mission. It's our own Genesis. We're creating a Genesis. It's the best Genesis.
They've already given this a name called the Stargate Project.
The Stargate. No. This is specifically to help
conspiracy theories.
No. We're
renaming them for AI.
This is a specific AI for federal scientific data sets, not just all AI. So this is probably
it's for developing AI, right? But the goal is
developing AI. So it might be, maybe it's like under Stargate or something, you know?
It doesn't matter. I think the point is that they're putting AI development under the government in the same category as developing nuclear weapons. That's great. I mean, that's perfect. It lines up with everything we've been saying about World War, whatever World War we're on now. It's mostly a world war when it comes to narratives, information, the battlefield of the mind. And as we've already learned, there is nothing more destructive in the battlefield of the mind than artificial intelligence. So good. It's the beginning of the end.
Good.
All right, everybody. Thank you to some of our producers who come in. They help us with their time. Of course, we've got the time stampers who I don't know where we would be without them.
The time stampers goes something like this.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
I believe Jade Bouncerson came in and knocked this out for episode 893. Thank you very much,
Thank
Jade
you very much, Jade Bouncerson. Always looking for more time stampers. If you want to work with the legendary Jade Bouncerson and getting this stuff done, you can send us an email, canarycryradio@gmail.com. Thank you to Jam, who heads up the Telegram, and Adam42, who heads up the Discord. If you want to get connected to the community over on Telegram or Discord, you can go to canarycry.party and you can find the invite links there. Get connected, folks. That's where the strength lies these days. Of course, thank you to Joe for the feedback. Thank you to Clank for clanking. Thank you to Sir Ike for everything you do for us. And other than that, share the show, folks. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Share it with all the lizards in your life. Give them a little t-shirt that says Canary Cry Get Now. And that might just be the secret to break through the algorithms. Lizards wearing t-shirts. But you can share it any way you want. It's not up to us. But do share it, because that's the only way that people find what's going on around here. We call it rattling cages, and all you got to do is walk right up to them, grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Guys, you got any last words?
Yeah. Tomorrow will be the anniversary of the martyrdom of Peter I of Alexandria from the year 311.
So long ago.
So there you go. There you go. Yeah, it's
so long ago.
1720. What is it? 14 years ago, something like that.
Incredible. All right, everybody. Make sure to go to canarycrysupplydrop.com so you can know what day it is, any day of the week. And make sure to come back, listen to the show. We'll be playing Sir Marty B's track after the show. Stick around for the Canary Crime mixtape. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
Toilets! Toilets!
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Bye!
And a resounding baka flies through the air across the world. Why are you screaming like a wild bird?
Rattle their cage. They have a lot of people screaming randomly. Why don't you shout? It'll be their call out. They have a lot of people screaming randomly.
Go ahead and...
Why don't you shout?
Why are you screaming like a wild bird?
I need a savior on a white horse. The one who always knows the way. I need a savior on a white horse. The one who's gonna set things straight. Look up in the clouds and you'll recognize him. I need a savior on a white horse. I need a savior. The world is getting worse. And you think that you can fix it. All you gotta do is get the word out until you reach a critical mass, and then they'll rise up and they'll fight back, but they won't. I need a savior on a white horse. The one who always knows the way. I need a savior on a white horse. The one who's gonna set things straight. Look up in the clouds and you'll recognize him. I need a savior on a white horse. I need a savior. Look up in the clouds and you'll recognize him. I need a savior on the white horse. I need a savior on the white horse. I need a savior on the white horse. I need a savior on the white horse.
I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Canary cried out support.